All right, let's get an audio check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Audio check. Testing. 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 4, 1, 6, 4, 5. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? 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 Give me a 69 if you can hear me now. I was saying, I'm sorry about the ads. Even when I put do not monetize on videos, I've noticed that now YouTube has started loading up with ads, particularly Hangouts and stuff. So I apologize to you guys. Welcome to you. Hello, Polly. You know, part 1 of this series, these history of audio Hangouts, was very well received. And I was extremely happy. Yeah, I can't have you post that flawless. I can't have you posting numbers on the side. What I need you to do is to Gmail me at icanmakeitlikenew@gmail.com. And then you're able to communicate, you know, and I'll get you my digits, no problem at all. Okay. YouTube just does not allow in Hangouts the posting of information. It's one of the things that I don't have a lot of mods. I do appreciate Harvey being here. Good evening to you, Harvey, in the great city of London, one of the truly great cities of the world. No problem. I removed it anyway on there. So, oh, okay. All right. I'm upset. Well, it's just stuff they do. Just sent you an email. I saw your email, Harvey. I was really happy with the first way that the first audio Hangout was received. What I'm doing in these is exploring the early and often unknown history of radio in America and the tracing through from the development of Edison's discovery of the Edison effect right on through to the development of the first broadcast stations, and then of course the first all national broadcast network, the National Broadcasting Company or Corporation, or NBC. Hello, Giddy. Nice to see you. Hello, Cheryl. Hello, Talk of the Week. Nice to see you. So I think a lot of people enjoyed that Hangout. This is very narrow casting on YouTube. I understand that. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And I don't hold it against you if you're, some of my Hangouts have upwards close to 400, over 400 people on them. So it doesn't matter. When I'm narrow casting, I'm doing something that I love to talk about on YouTube. And that is my passion, obviously, for vintage audio. If I asked you, some of you are pretty smart, what was the first broadcast station, radio broadcast station in the United States? Now, a lot of kids learned this in the old days in grammar school. Let's do a little test. Hey, Booze, how are you? Thank you, Giddy. We're all taught some basic history. We kind of gloss over things in textbooks. We'll see if anybody remembers from their earliest days what they were taught the first radio station in America was. And I will give you a hint. They went on the air. That's close to, okay, Carrie said, I don't know. Thank you, Charlotte. I appreciate it. I'm going to give you a hint. They went on the air on election night 1920. And they broadcast the election results of Warren G. Harding being elected President of the United States. It's your first mini homework. Well, there was the BBC, of course. Well, not CBS. I'll give you another hint. They were located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm stressing out your minds today. Nope, W3XK, KDKA. Thank you, Itchy Balls. KDKA. And which unusual. It was founded in 1920, and as the number of radio stations grew in America, they decided to divide the United States into two parts for more easy geographic identification of where the station was basically located. And they began to use W as a prefix for stations east of the Mississippi River. And they began to use K as a marker for Western United States radio stations. I grew up, of course, in Baltimore with WBAL, which was a 100,000 watt mega giant there. And then on the West Coast, KCBS here in San Francisco, which is a huge powerhouse of a station. Yeah, it's good to see all of you today. We tend to think of KDKA, or those who are associated with radio history, as the first real broadcast station. And it was the first one licensed by the federal government after World War I. Radio history before World War I was very fascinating. The reason I always found it fascinating was there were so many claims and counterclaims and lawsuits and lawyers hired. You know, everybody knew that this technology was huge. This mass communication technology was huge. And everybody wanted to stick their finger in the pie and claim a part of it. Western Union, in developing the telegraph, the first real viable commercial telegraph arrangements and corporation, was forever fighting off lawsuits and patent infringement. It went to war with American Telephone and Telegraph, Alexander Graham Bell, over who really invented the telephone. And of course, the federal government, the patent office, ultimately decided with Alexander Graham Bell. But there was so much bitterness. There was so much acrimony. There was so much infighting, and who was going to be who, and who invented who, and who made false claims. So that's what I thought the early history of radio was very important. Now, by the title of this, you can see Myths and the Inventor. You know, we think of, it's kind of funny to me, sometimes something can be invented or originated, and then it disappears for a long time. You know, in the United States, because of World War I, the United States Army and the United States Navy seized all broadcasting assets of the United States. Hello Ed, all of the Marconi wireless broadcasting stations on the coast were seized by the federal government. And they ceased to allow any independent radio operations for the duration of the war for security reasons. Nobody knew what this technology was capable of. They were very fearful of espionage. And last year, I went down and took a trip to down in Marshall, California, about 35, 40 miles from here, to visit the big wireless station, the Marconi wireless station on the west coast of the United States. A very haunted, freaky place. I encourage you to look at the video. It later became a headquarters for a cult. It was hell there, where there were people tortured there. It's just a hellishly haunted place. But it started out as a wonderful Marconi broadcasting station. And of course, Marconi's big claim to fame was using wireless to transmit the ships out at sea. But Marconi never believed that wireless should be used for anything except commercial use, in terms of for business use and not for pleasure use. Well, some people had different ideas about what radio should be used for. And one of them was a guy named Charles Herrold. He's probably the most key figure in radio that most people have never heard of in this country. But yet he did some amazing things that set in motion a chain of events that was to lead to the formation of modern radio and what we know today as programs and programming. Because back in 1912, he was really the first one in San Jose, California, to operate and begin the very first commercial broadcasting station in America. And it's a fascinating history. And his wife, Sybil Herrold, he was 40 and she was 18 when they married. She became the very first disc jockey in America when she would spin records and take requests by phone to play certain pieces of music and have them broadcast over the air. Pretty amazing. It's a very amazing story. It's a very amazing story of a guy that was very driven at a young age. It was the age where there'd be hundreds of books published a year in the early 1900s of wireless adventures, equivalent to the Hardy Boys series, but they would have all types of inventors. You know, the wireless boys of dark sound, and young people were just fascinated by inventors and invention. It was really that golden age of inventing. Thank you, Polly. If you have a passion for things, you tend to dig very deep below the surface. Nice to see you, Nathan. Glad to have you along. Hello, Nature Woman, Kentucky. Well, this guy, Charles Herrold, look at my notes here. Make sure they were in the right order. He was born in 1875 in Illinois. And he was born, this people always ask me, when do you wish you, if you could go back in time and be born at a certain time, where would it be? It'd be about 1875, in this era where all this electronics and things were exploding at that particular time. And when he was young, he was about 15. When he was young, his family moved to the West Coast to San Jose, California. And he was fascinated in his backyard in San Jose. Hello, Ty. Hello, Cobra John. In his backyard in San Jose, they had a barn, and he had developed and built a small-scale observatory for astronomy. You could go up to the top of the barn, and the door would open on the roof of the barn. You'd step out, and there'd be a telescope, and you could, follow the stars. And he became fascinated. Hey, Kim C. Hey, Carrie. He became fascinated with astronomy. He became so fascinated that he used to hang out at what we know here in the Bay Area of San Francisco, and I'm about 90 miles from San Jose. He used to visit the Lick, L-I-C-K Observatory. That's also the elementary school that Bobby went to. My friend Bobby was the James Lick Elementary School. Well, Lick was a very famous person involved in astronomy in the Bay Area. So he became so fascinated with astronomy. Hello, Richard. Nice to see you. He became so fascinated with astronomy that he became frustrated, because as he would watch the night sky, the Earth move in relation to the night sky, he'd have to keep shifting the camera. So at a very young age, he developed, using grains of sand, he developed a way that the telescope would track as the Earth moved. He became the originator of the autofollow, first telescope that would automatically follow the stars. Well, this was quite a thing, and it set in motion for him a little bit of a reputation at a very young age as being somebody that was very insightful when it came to engineering. And he was doing this before he was even 20 years old, doing all this. Let's see, how have you been, Cheryl? Nice to see you. So it was really the first clock-driven telescope that would move across the, how you doing, Willow? Move across the sky. At 20 years old, he enrolled in Stanford University, which was already by that time a very renowned university here in California. Even today, between UC Berkeley, Stanford, MIT, Caltech, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, they're really the big hotbeds of new technology and development and entrepreneurship. Okay. So he enrolled in there, and he was really interested at that time in studying wireless technology. And of course, before wireless, everything had to be hooked by wires. Telegraphs, telephones had to be hooked together by wire. And the next big push became, how can we get these signals to come over the air instead of having things wired up? Well, Marconi had proved that you could use something that generates a huge spark. Okay. And down off the coast of California, where I visited, he had like one antenna that was like a half a mile long. And from this huge building on the campus of the wireless center, every time that a telegraph operator would push down on a key, every time that key closed, a huge corresponding spark, a huge blast of electricity carried that over the ocean. And of course, it bounces off the ceiling, the Earth inside of the ionosphere, and it can curve. This is another reason that we know the earth is round and not flat by the propagation of these radio signals. So I think it was very interesting that the way that worked, to use the sparking and letting up on the key and pushing down and having this huge, you had to use massive amounts of power to put out a gigantic spark on this wire. And then you had a smaller that would receive the signal back that was being sent from a ship at sea. So, you know, when you have that wireless technology, the next question is, how do you then carry voice over that same spark? And that was the really big leap that a Danish pioneer, but mainly a guy named Charles Herrold, was able to close the gap and make that reality. So like I said, Marconi in 1901 was able to successfully send the first wireless signal using this huge sparking mechanism being transmitted out of an antenna. And then the ship at sea would have a receiving antenna on the deck, and they would hear that signal and broadcast back and forth. Okay, so yeah, he started, he went in. After a while, he moved to San Francisco. He dropped out of Stanford University. I believe he was pretty bored with the curriculum down there. And at first he wanted to study one field, and then the professor dropped out or quit the university. So he studied physics for a while. But, you know, for him and a lot of these early inventors, it's such a long path. You know, you want to work on wireless, but your physics instructor wants to take you through chemistry and biology, and they want to go all through these processes of explaining what electronic components are in electrical theory. And all you really care about is just getting to the good stuff of the wireless technology. So you end up dropping out of college because you're not going to hang around. You're not going to hang around for years to just get to the good things. So that was fast. And a lot of young people would do that. They wanted, the technology was just exploding at this time. Automobiles and telephones and Morse code and wireless, and especially young guys were just driven and captivated by being at the heart and the joy of this technology. Hey, how you doing? How you doing, Harvey? Nice to see you. Okay. So he dropped out of there and he moved to San Francisco, and he started working for a distributing surgical goods and dental goods for a company. Well, that really, he couldn't stand really doing that. And you're not gonna, if you have an inventor mind and somebody tells you go make pizzas, yeah, you might go make pizzas, but at nighttime you're going to be fiddling around in your workshop or your garage. And that was the type of guy he is. He wanted to pursue stuff. Hey Ash, nice to see you, sweetheart. He wanted to pursue things full time. Okay. And after a while, he gave up that selling of surgical supplies and dental supplies, and he became a chief engineer for what was known as the San Francisco Wireless Company as the chief engineer. And the chief engineer's responsibility, if you don't know, in most engineering organizations, most broadcast stations, is responsibility for all transmitting equipment and also receiving equipment for wireless. It was quite a responsibility to take this on, and it was a great position for him. But we all know what happened in 1906. Anybody know what happened in 1906 that turned everybody's world upside down? Out here, I'm sure Sean the Brit knows. I'm sure Sean the Brit knows. Let's see how smart. Hey, the boardroom is here. Yeah, the great earthquake of 1906. Great earthquake of 1906 upended many lives. And much of the infrastructure from San Francisco, if it wasn't wrecked by the great earthquake, the fact that almost every water main in the city was broken and disrupted by the upheaval of the earth, there was no effective way to fight a fire back then. So most of the loss of the city was not by earthquake. It was by fire. So his operations, his whole life was disrupted and destroyed. And he knew right away that there was no chance that anything was going to be rebuilt or anything was going to be happening in the way of radio in the city of San Francisco. So it really was quite the thing. Yeah, I got the message, Brooke. I appreciate it. So he ended up moving to Stockton, California. And this was really a big move for him. A lot of people really freaked out after the earthquake. The city of Santa Rosa was wrecked proportionally here more than the city of San Francisco. More people died here per capita than there. But a lot of people got scared and they left the area. They wanted to get away from the San Andreas fault. And you can imagine how horrific it is to have lived through that with the earth shaking and heaving for over a minute. And it's just like, man, get me out of here. So he went ahead and he moved to Stockton, California, and he became a teacher at 30 years old. He became a faculty member at a small college out there and found his real passion, which was, thank you, Sam. Nice to see you. It became a passion teaching for him too. And the nice thing about that teaching at that time is that most people were respectful. Hello, Travis. Most people were respectful. Yeah, okay, there we go. Most people were respectful, and people wanted to absorb all the knowledge. If they came to a school that specializes in physics and engineering, most of the people that went to that school really wanted to be there and really wanted to learn, and they wanted to be one of these superheroes of inventorhood, one of these people that would advance wireless technology. So, I'm trying to think. Oh, and then there was a very famous book. Maybe some of you have heard of it. You'd have to be very well read. There was an author called Edward Bellamy, Bellamy, and he wrote a book. I think it was written in 1897. And it was called Looking Backward. And this book, when Herrold got a hold of this book, Charles Herrold, it really did change his life, because this guy, Edward Bellamy, was one of these guys that tried to project the future, tried to look ahead and see what life would be. And guess what year he picked? Which I think is really amazing. He picked the year 2000 as his year and talked about the discoveries and the things that would be in everyday life at that time. And it was he envisioned this utopian world. Yeah, it was like a 1987, but in a positive kind of way. What do we got going over here? Let's see. Yeah, thank you, Harvey. Just be on top. Just remove these people, or time them out is fine. So he envisioned this utopia in the world 2000, and it was the home of the future, where you would have music over telephone coming in and all these great inventions. And I think a lot of people that ended up reading this book were just really super impressed, and it kind of stimulates their mind. This is why I say sometimes, I want to know Al Rosie, I didn't have a life. That's how I know all this. But the amazing thing is, we always talk about how useless some subjects are, and You know, people will talk about, like I majored in philosophy, and a lot of people would say, how you doing, Linda? A lot of people would say, like philosophy, how useless a degree you could have, or liberal arts. But the great thing about being a philosopher and being a thinker and being a creative person that knows a little bit about a lot of different things is you can create original thoughts out of that body of knowledge. You know, you can inductively reason or think about things that may exist. And that's the beauty of these people like Bellamy that write these books. Now, of course, 1984 was it was a darker type of book, but this book, looking backward, really stimulated a lot of people. So a lot of ways, free thinking idiots like philosophers and people like that, they can envision a world of the future, but they're not bound by having to go through the steps to create that world. Okay, so sometimes free thought, as opposed to very critical and scientific reasoning and rationalization, it's not what really advances civilization. A lot of times it's a free thinking person that puts an idea out and says, I'll bet the world's going to be like this in the year 2000, but I don't have to worry about how it gets there. But I can envision, with the way that the pieces are coming together now, that this will probably be what the world is like. Well, you know what that does? That stimulates scientists and engineers to pull up from their equations and their slide rules and think to themselves, well, I never thought about that. The practical applications of, yeah, we have telephones for speaking and communicating. Maybe we sing happy birthday over the telephone, but yeah, can you imagine that? A home that's wired with music. Wouldn't that be cool? If we could have one central location that would spin records and put records on, and people in their home could just turn on their telephone receiver and have music. Hi, Susie. How you doing, sweetheart? I just think that's amazing. This is why I study things like creativity, and it's why I study things like you know, what leads what. Because if you think about it, I remember when I took a philosophy of science course in college, one of the first things that the professor said was that one of the first things the professor ended up talking about was how science is simple-minded. And we were all like, whoa, you know, we're all thinking of calculations, E equals MC squared, E equals I times R, Newtonian physics, and IJK vectors from mechanical engineering. And, you know, but he said, you know what, you're probably thinking about complicated equations, and you're wondering how I could ever come out of here and say that science is simple-minded. But the reality, when he said the next sentence was, science is simple-minded because it only asks the questions that it believes that it can reasonably get an answer to. You know, it's bound by the rationale of science to not pursue things that are outside of the bounds of calculable events. And I really thought that this professor was quite brilliant, and it was quite a good course, because his idea was it was free-thinking writers and creative people that would think of these wild ideas that people like scientists and engineers, and some of them with a mercantile mind and a commercial mind, would say, yeah, that rocks. What a great idea that is. So that's exactly what happened to this inventor, Charles Herrold. He read that book, as many people did, in 1897 and 1898, and it flipped his whole world upside down, okay? Because he began to think of how, instead of having a wireless, since we now had Marconi, who was able to transmit Morse code to ships, why can't we send voice over those same airways? Why are we restricted to sending code with these big flashes of power going out of these stations, like on the West Coast of Pacific up here in Northern California, shooting, 50, 100,000 volts out to sea with sparking off huge amounts of energy? Why can't we carry signals out there? All right, the SS Atlantic needed that. Colonel, I knew you would end up being one of my best and brightest students out here. You may move to the front of the classroom, okay? To a place of honor. We all heard about a lot of people have heard of the history of RCA Corporation, Radio Corporation of America. And Sarnoff, the first chairman of the board of Radio Corporation of America. And he was one of those people that was really smart, but he was a real son of a bitch. Okay, and he went out there and he would grab and appropriate technology. And then when he went and later wrote his historical notes, and every piece of paper that he ever breathed on is in a library in New Jersey. The history of the Radio Corporation of America, RCA. And we was one that went back and tried to grab this idea and say that he was really the one that first thought of wireless but that's kind of a little bit of a diversion, but it was the kind of guy that he was. But he had talked about something. They found out he fabricated his notes going backwards to talk about something called a radio box. A radio music box in the 1920s. Anyway, the Marconi made a big mistake by deciding that when people approached him with ideas of, gee, why don't we try this? These free thinkers would come. Hey, man, let's have a drink. Why don't you ever try this? Why don't you try developing something that could maybe put entertainment, use the airwaves for entertainment. Yeah, that's basically it, Susie. A lot of the patents of RCA were, let's call it adapted. I don't like to use the word stolen, but grabbed technology, because RCA had rich lawyers and a fleet of great law firms. Think about Marshall versus the Chicago lawyers, right? Okay, your chances of winning with these guys were very, very, very slim. But there was a guy in 1900. His name. This was the first guy that really was able to put a little bit of a voice on a spark. And there was a guy named Reginald Fessenol in Canada, and in 1900 he put out this tiny little voice over a continuous spark. Of course, he didn't know how to use that. Please remember Sean the Flamingo from now on. Yeah, Ash is like, let's not blame the lawyers. Boy, a lot of people did. You talk about a group of people that enriched themselves in early radio. Those lawyers were all at the and using what was called a spark technology and arc spark technology. He was able to couple his voice through a very primitive early microphone. When he talked, this thing would spark off a little bit, and a receiver at the other end of the, down the block would hear faintly, like, Mary had a little lamb. Mary, the early things that they would broadcast. And in 1976, this Fessinger technology was used in Canada to broadcast. This guy would actually, in his house in Canada, near the water. He would broadcast at nighttime, take little records and just little snippets of 5 minutes or so. And these people out in the ships that had Marconi wireless sets and stuff would hear, these little voices and this little bit of music. I mean, can you imagine how startling that is when you're used to hearing Morse code? And all of a sudden you had Mary had a little lamb, Mary had a little lamb, something like that. You're coming over. It's like a WTF moment in your life. Okay, so this guy, it was really the first one that got very small snippets of voice and music out over the air. And then, the guy we talked about last time, Lee DeForest here in the United States, that improved the vacuum tube and the amplifier vacuum tube. He also started to experiment because he loved opera. All these people had this common bond of loving opera and loving music. And they were just continuously thwarted every step of the way. Every time they wanted to discuss the idea of using radio for entertainment or broadcasting for entertainment, they were shot down. People would say, "Oh, you make it. You're trying to trivialize a miracle technology by trying to, basically make coin out of it or turn it into an entertainment media. Hey, Eric, how are you?" So it's pretty funny how all those early attempts, but he started doing the same thing in a laboratory, playing around with trying to find a way to wirelessly broadcast sound out of his little workshop and put music on it. Kind of interesting. Oh, thank you, Polly. I just think it's so fascinating, this early history, because of some of the personalities involved and how some people couldn't see. The inventor doesn't necessarily always see the potential value. When Bill Gates purchased, when IBM didn't see the potential value of the operating system, right? The computer operating system. It took a guy like Bill Gates. Hey, hazel-eyed vixen. It took a guy like Bill Gates to come along and really see the potential and to purchase this operating system from IBM, to create the linkage to understand what's possible with using this technology. This was the same thing. Yeah, this DOS technology, this was the same damn thing, the disk operating system. This same principle operated in radio. Every time somebody would come to approach your business and say, "Hey, man, I got a great idea for how we can use this technology," they would just say, "You know what, Elvis, you're a knucklehead. Okay, leave. This is big man's work here. This is serious business, my friend. Okay, do that to, go shop that stuff elsewhere." Well, this guy in 1908, Herrold got tired of teaching out in the Central Valley. It had been a couple of years since the earthquake, the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. Hey, RV Shadow. And he returned to San Francisco. And because he liked teaching so much, he decided, actually, he moved to San Jose because San Francisco was still too wrecked after the 1906 earthquake. So he moved to San Jose, about 40 miles away from San Francisco, and it didn't suffer near the damage, being far enough away from the San Andreas fault, that the city was pretty much intact. And he moved back to that area. Hey, Mike, he moved back to that area. He moved to the Bay Area again, and he founded what became known as the Herrold College of Wireless Engineering in 1909 in San Jose, California. You can imagine the guy's in his early 30s, and you're bold enough to say, "Hey, I understand some of this technology. I'm going to have a college. I'm going to start enrolling guys And lo and behold, students started coming to this college, which was amazing. And they had they enrolled what they called wireless boys, all these boys having grown up and reading these books on the great adventures of Wireless Joe, saving a a ship from destruction and warning about a storm on the wireless set. Think about like Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew, all these books when I would read when I was little, the Hardy Boys adventures. And there was no TV, there was no radio, right? All you do was you read books. That was your escapism. And when people would find out that there was a wireless, college opening them up, young guys would flock to this stuff. This was like the glory days. They thought, gee, if I could just be a wireless operator and get my wireless operator certificate, learn my Morse code, I'm going to have the best looking chicks. I'm going to be the #1 guy in town. New wave technology. Look at me now, Mom. I'm a wireless boy. I love that. So let's go. So it goes to saying let me just get this. Yeah. So as I said, they were in San Jose. Everybody was reading these young guys were reading books about wireless adventures and the early rock stars. That's right, they were rock stars. Inventors were rock stars. Edison, Henry Ford, Luther Burbank here in Santa Rosa, California. I mean, all these guys were like Harvey Firestones. They were all applauded. So studying wireless back then was like studying computer technology today. That's where everybody wanted to, wanted to gravitate toward studying that. So the college was a huge success. He enrolled a lot of students. A lot of people went in there and learned Morse code. Specifically, they trained people on Morse code. And in a little other area of the school, you had a very select group of nerds who didn't want to send code all day, didn't want to be rock stars. They didn't give a flying you-know-what about that. They cared about being in a little laboratory on the side, screwing around with batteries and wire and magnets and messing around with technology. And sometimes half electrocuting themselves in the process. That was the fun part of the college for the nerds. Okay. Well, in 1913, after he established the school, he got married at age 40 to an 18-year-old gal. Sybil was her name. Not the Sybil you guys are thinking of. This was a really together gal, and she was so drawn to what was going on and what he was doing with developing of teaching wireless and people to be wireless operators that she asked to join the school. And she became a faculty member. She became gifted in Morse code, and she would be the one at the school that would instruct in Morse code training. As your incoming freshman, you have to learn to do Morse code. She became the earliest instructor of wireless, and one of the few females even involved in the industry at that time. The big thing was teaching code. So most of the time was spent teaching, and some time was invented. But he was also he was a nice guy. He'd work all week, work hard at school and work hard in the laboratory. Then on the weekends, he would take his students out to the countryside for fresh air and to do hiking and boating and canoeing. So you get an idea. Isn't that kind of cool? This was before the days when we worried about relationships between older people and youngsters. This was a different kind of era where there seemed to be a higher level of respect of elders and teachers. So he would take them out on country trips and develop a real relationship with them and stimulate their minds about what they could achieve and what they might accomplish in life. So the big thing, though, was, like I said, the big next move was, how do you go from that spark of Morse code to carrying a wireless signal? Because everybody by that time wanted to try to do voice over wireless like Morse code, but they couldn't fail because they kept trying to use the spark gap technology of Morse code to carry this signal. In other words, every time you close the circuit, it creates a big spark. And when you let up, it opens the circuit and the spark stops. So you can adjust the length of the sparking, and it became something that was very frustrating for people. They try to adapt this technology for telegraphy and actually carry voice signals, and they failed at every turn of the everywhere they go. But the different thing that Charles Herrold did, he turned his back on telegraphy. He turned his back on Morse code, and he looked to what was the technology, Harvey, that was already converting voice to electrical impulses. I'm going to test. Thank you, Susie. I'm going to test Harvey here. See how good. Anybody know the technology that was converting speaking into electrical impulses? Well, in what invention, Harvey, was that found? Nice rock band, Carrie. AC/DC. Come on, somebody get it. What was the big great invention? Hey, Street Life, the huge invention, not the microphone. Close, Kerno. Close. Man, amplitude modulation. Oh, you're just making stuff up. Come on, Harvey. Somebody knows what the big invention of the 1880s. Thank you, Polly. The telephone. The telephone, where you would talk into a microphone, and that would have a diaphragm as your speech moved forward. As the sound came out of your mouth, it was carried on waves that would actually hit a diaphragm, okay? And that diaphragm would slightly move in and out in relation to your voice. The louder you were, the more it moved in. The softer you were, the more it was. And as that moved in and out, it created electrical impulses. Sometimes those impulses were driven by a big force of electrons, and other times very small, as the voice would vary. And by coupling this sound physics of sound movement through a diaphragm and pushing that through carbon, little bits of carbon that would move, and with the application of electricity, that would actually create a varying signal. It would go through and carry through the wire to the other end and be demodulated or reproduced back to the diaphragm with the carbon crystals, and then you would hear that. Hello, Mallory. Hello. Thanks, RB Shadow. But very few people had ever thought about using telephone technology for creating wireless broadcasting. This was the genius of Charles Herrold. This is the whole central core of this Hangout number 2, was the big leap that this gentleman made. Looked at the telephone, looked at the operation of the telephone, and said, why can't we take that signal that comes out of that microphone and passes through the bits of carbon, and then through that carbon is energized with the application of electricity that varies. Why can't we just put a whole hell of a lot of power on that and shoot that up on the antenna and broadcast that? I mean, it's, you know, what a thought, to take the little power of the telephone that's coupled to, you have to transmit through wires, remove the wires from the telephone, hook it to a huge source of electricity, and every time that diaphragm moved in and out when you spoke, it would create a varying electronic signal. Hello, Tasha. Yeah, I'm not sure, Tasha, but every time that moved, nice to see you, but every time that moved, the size of the transmitting signal would increase or decrease. I mean, to me, that's the absolute brilliancy of Charles Herrold, was connecting Morse technology, using that as a basis, but leaping to telephone, leaping on top of somebody else's invention and making a tremendous leap of reasoning and cutting the wires of the telephone. If you had to just simplify what Charles Herrold's great advancement was, it was snipping the wires of the telephone and taking those 2 wires from the telephone, adding a hell of a lot of power to it, sending it up to an antenna, and letting it rip. Absolute genius. It's what he called the ARC phone. The ARC, A-R-C phone. And it was very interesting how he moved to the next step of that. He was walking down the street one day, and this was the days when you'd use sparkers to light street lamps on the streets of cities like San Francisco and San Jose. And as he was walking down the street at dusk one night, and the lights started to come on, these automatic sparkers, these arc sparkers, would start to light the street lamps. A little bit of electricity would flow through. Boom. They would light the light, and you had automatic street lights that would come on. Well, what he heard, he would hear these little arc things firing off, these very high frequency, and he noticed that they kind of varied in frequency. And that's when he got the genius idea to understand that all that spark is just a modulated electronic wave coming through. If you vary the wave, you vary the signal that's coming through. You vary your voice at the diaphragm on a telephone, and that signal converts to electricity. Absolute genius using that. Okay. He would call it singing street lamps. I mean, kids would talk about how, listen to this street lamps singing. So he went home. One of these little arcers wasn't enough. He went home and took 6 of these sparkers, 6 of them, bundled them all together to increase the power 6-fold. He went outside. He stole the power. Hey, how you doing, Sky Carl? He went outside, he tapped the streetcar line, stole their power, and ran about 500 volts into this arc phone using 6 of these arcs connected in series for maximum power. And he hooked a microphone up to that, just like of the telephone. And because of the power he used, he created the first real wireless broadcast signal that was more usable. I mean, there had been Danish inventors and some other people that had explored, you know, arc technology and other things, but he was the first one that understood that ramping up the power and using the telephone would allow him to have a broadcast radio station. It was absolutely brilliant. The weak part of it was that these arcs had to be rested and they had to be cooled, and he originally used them in alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and you can imagine. Boom. Everybody, right, Carl? They all read about inventors of the day that exploded themselves in workshops, blew themselves out of third-floor windows of laboratories, touched electricity on the top of buildings, and just went keeling off 80 stories, messing around with tapping power off of the streetcar line. I had made a tinfoil. I hear you. Right. The stories were replete. The press was replete with stories of the heroics and daring do of inventors. He's lucky he didn't explode using that. You had to be very careful too, because when you're running 500 volts up to your microphone, you better not be drinking, right, in case you can't touch it. Thing got so hot that it had to be water cooled to keep the temperature down in his broadcasting station in San Jose. Now, this is the next great thing. This is what made him great in broadcast radio. Having now proven that he could do this and transmit voice wirelessly out of his college, he went ahead. He went ahead and he patented the arc radio box in 1912. Okay. So I think that was a real genius. It was using that carbon microphone that we used. It was used in telephone technology, and just cut the wires and using that to, because remember, broadcast stations don't have to take in. They only have to transmit out. That was the big thing about the telephone, had to be two-way communication. But with the broadcast station, they don't want to hear what the hell you have to say in your home, okay? They could care less. They're just putting the information out to you. So his genius was just treating that telephone as a one-way device and taking that output from that phone and running it up with a lot of extra power to an antenna that would broadcast that out. So what do you call this? What do you call this broadcast station? See, when you're taught in history books that the first commercial broadcast station in the United States was KDKA in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, broadcasting the election returns of 1920 when Warren Harding became president, it's not necessarily true. Not necessarily true. Because here was people 10, 20 years before this technology using this. But why did their names get lost to history? Because World War I happened. And when World War I happened, the United States government came in, seized all radio technology, all broadcasting apparatus, became the property of the United States government. And for all intents and purposes, the train of progress stopped. Then the train of progress was in government laboratories, government-funded operations, and money sent to AT&T and RCA and General Electric. You know, the individual was done. The glory days had come to an end of the solo individual inventor tinkering with the technology and making something great. So he called his first station SJN, I guess San Jose, whatever, down there. And every day he would play records, and they could hear this in San Francisco, 40 and 50 miles away. If you had a receiving ships at sea, amateur enthusiast, they could hear this. How you doing, news unit? They could hear this on their sets. Amazing technology. So hundreds heard what was called the Herrold station that would broadcast out of there. But in another thing that happened, you know, in 1912, and what also helped his technology was, what other thing happened in 1912? How you doing, Juice? What other big event, what other big tragedy occurred in 1912 that really upped the usage of people with receiving sets, and particularly ships and commercial ships at sea? What happened? What happened in 1912, in April of 1912? The Titanic sunk. The Titanic sunk. And in response to that, the government passed a law. It was called the Radioactive 1912. And what that did was it required every ship at sea not to just turn on their radio sets when they wanted to do something, but they were required to monitor the airwaves 24 hours a day. So if ever a distress was heard at sea, then, you know, the Carpathian came to the aid of the Titanic, but by the time it came, it was too late. But had other ships in the area had their wireless sets on, they may have been able to, hey Dave, they may have been able to come in and save the people off the Titanic before it went down. In response, this radioactive 1912 created a need for mass producing affordable radio receivers. And because of that, RCA Corporation, the Radio Corporation of America, was stimulated to create radio sets that the average person would eventually be able to afford in their home. So out of tragedy came that. So very interesting. Operators must monitor airwaves around the clock. In 1916, he was really granted the first radio license in America, the very first one. We didn't have an FCC back then. Everything was controlled by the Army and the Navy. And the tragedy for him was that World War I intervened, and his technology was cut off and lost in the stream. And his name was lost forever to history. The interesting thing is, every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. from San Jose, California, from 1912 until 1916, 1917, when World War I broke out, every night at 9 p.m., he would turn on his broadcasting setup and broadcast music and information and news to people around the Bay Area. And some people heard this hundreds of miles away. This was before KDKA in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania even went on the air in 1920s. People in San Jose and San Francisco had been enjoying broadcast radio until World War I. They'd been enjoying that for 5 years. amazing. But you never will hear that in the history books. And, you know, the young kids were the biggest audiences out there listening on their sets. And this was the first programming in the world, too. And his wife became the very first disc jockey in the history of the United States. She was the one that would sit in the studio and spin the records and play them to be broadcast over the air to the San Francisco Bay Area. It was also the very first radio call-in line in history, because Charles Herrold had a telephone in his studio. And once he started broadcasting, he and his wife, how you can get a hold of us at the station, people started calling up. Can you play this record on the air tonight? Can you play this record, that record? Pretty amazing when you think of in 1912, 1913, 7 years before KDKA went on the air, a little old mom and pop operation in San Jose, California was broadcasting to hundreds and hundreds of people, and probably thousands of people throughout the Western United States. That, my friends, closes the chapter Hangout. Doesn't close the Hangout, but it closes my presentation here today on Charles Herrold. And maybe you'll never think about history the same way again when we think about broadcast radio and RCA. Because although these companies and broadcasters, big time operations, captured the headlines and became written in the history books, it was actually these guys and women like Charles and Sybil Herrold that did so much to really bring broadcast radio into reality in this nation. Upon little shoulders, big things are built. So let's see. Thank you, Curno. I appreciate that. Thank you, Travels with Tasha. Thank you. I will mention next time we're going to talk about is what happened in World War I. If you've not seen the travel video where I traveled down to Marshall, California, 40 miles below Santa Rosa here, down Route 1 on the Pacific Coast Highway, and went to one of those Marconi broadcasting stations. Now, it ended up having a horrifying history because it turned into a cult in the 1960s, and people were killed there, and experimental drugs, and people inducted and kidnapped. But at the time it was developed in the early 1900s as a Marconi station, a beautiful, looked like a big hotel. You can see my video where I walk around and I look in the window and you can see some of the earliest broadcasting equipment in the history of the world sitting in there with the Marconi station. You remember me going there, Carl? Yeah, I saw that news unit. Yeah, never in his wildest dreams did he think we could all see you broadcast live from Europe. That's what I'm saying, Travis. Never could you imagine that some ding-dong could sit in their living room here in California and basically broadcast to the world. It has ghosts. It has a horrifying history. It's part of the playlist I have there. You can just put Marconi into my search box and you'll see the video of this really horrifying place that the hippies turned into a place of hell. Did Al Gore create the internet? No. So what's happening, Dave? How you doing today? Nice to see you. Hope you're doing good. Yeah, let's try to keep it upbeat. It's been a really good second hangout. Carl, I want to have you in here also about basic design and technology. I think that we will move yeah, everyone's welcome for these chats. I think we'll move to considerations of maybe get you in here, Carl, with considerations of how a basic radio, thank you, Travis, of how a basic radio set operates and the technology. No problem, Susie. Because I may have a lot of historical knowledge. Yes, we do. Nice to see you, Stephanie. We have a lot of interesting people in the audio, vintage audio and electronics world. It's a shrinking community, but it's people like Sky Carl and Harvey and some other people. So Harvey, I'm going to send you a link. You can come up if you're still here. Harvey, are you still here? Let's see. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Carl. Well, they did it. Carl says, how did they figure out they could bounce waves off the atmosphere? You know, that's another thing, Carl. They never scientifically did that. They never theoretically posited that that would be possible, bouncing off the ionosphere. What they actually did was accidentally find out that even though they would put a ship out in a potential receiving situation, they found out that some other ship, thousands, hundreds and hundreds of miles away, picked up the same signal. That's when they started calculating and figuring, hey, these signals don't move in a straight line. These things curve as they go around the Earth. So I'm not going to get into, this is not a discussion of flat Earth technology. I'm not going to go there, but I'm just saying it is, one of the things that the fact came first and then the theory follows. So let me go ahead. Harvey, I'm going to send you this. I don't know if, all right, you pop on, Harvey. Yeah, HARP was supposed to be dismantled. Yep. And I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure it is. But I'll tell you, you guys know, yeah, Carl, I'd like to have you on maybe next week to talk about, the basic principles of how a radio works, because I tell you can explain it a lot better than I do. And you also have much more of a practical, a much more thorough understanding. I'm more of a tinkerer and just a back engineer things, but you're good basic knowledge. Hey, Scottish, how are you?
I should be here.
Yes. Yeah. How you doing, Harvey?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Just had a late supper. So I was on Mama Bear's. Did you see me on Mama Bear's stream earlier?
No, I'm not going to talk about her right now, Harvey. I just want to stay.
It was fun.
Yeah, I just want to stay focused on your thoughts in terms of Charles Herrold and his magnificent leap of moving from telephony to cutting the wire, so to speak, adding some power to it, increasing the power of the broadcast signal, and then shooting that up out of an antenna.
Okay.
Pretty amazing guy. You probably never heard of him, huh?
You know what? To be honest, I haven't. No, absolutely right there.
And yet this was a guy that in 1912 through 1960 had a regular weekly radio program called Little Hams, H-A-M-S, at 9 p.m. every Wednesday night. Had a radio show that was broadcast to hundreds, if not thousands of people in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Amazing.
No Federal Communications Commission. No government involvement, just the very basic. You had a Department of Commerce. You had a Department of Commerce that would come in and issue, there was none of this FCC. Everything was under the Department of Commerce here. They're the ones that would give you the thing. News unit said, Rosie, if we started saving EIMAC tubes, Will they be worth more than gold? I'm not really sure. You know, they're built into the 1,000-watt. Harvey and I laugh about this Philips 2,000-watt vacuum tube Philips unit that they have. It could probably electrocute a whole city block if you weren't careful with this thing. So, okay, Carl says, I had heard the name and knew he was important, but I learned a bunch about him today. I just think he's a very fascinating guy, Carl. And the good thing about him, Carl, is he left a wonderful legacy of decency, and he was admired and loved by students and society. No, my wig never flies off. Let's see. So, what do you think, Harvey? Kip's cutting the wires to the phone.
That's right.
Pretty cool.
Brilliant idea.
You know, because why reinvent? You know, I'm really surprised other people didn't do this, and I don't know if Carl feels the same way. I'm really surprised other people, Harvey, didn't grasp the importance of the carbon microphone for, you know, modulating signals through with the application of electricity. Why they wouldn't have had that connection, but it just shows you it's the right place, it's the right guy at the right place that has the right idea.
Yeah, because as the carbon granules were compressed and squeezed, they created different various voltages, stuff like that. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that was, you know, for him to connect that and just turn his back on the spark gap technology was brilliant. You know,
it's really funny though, because carbon microphones were used in domestic telephones up until the late 1970s. Well, in this country anyway.
Yeah, yes, Dave. I have several oscilloscopes. I have a 1966. I have a 1966 RCA oscilloscope, and I have a Tektronix 2251 dual channel oscilloscope.
Nice, that's a nice one.
Yeah, really nice. So you can do A channel, B channel on stereo. Kerno said wireless was and is great, but what now? Well, now we have digital. You know, you can move a lot. You can package a lot of data. Yeah, of course, I have a vintage RCA. That's funny. Right, Harvey? I mean, digitization has allowed, you know, a tremendous amount of information.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the early form of telephone years ago. You had to have separate telephone lines for each consumer. And since the advent of digital lines, you know, multiplexing, that's what makes it all possible, is multiplexing the signals.
Yeah, I think we'll get Carl on here maybe next week, Harvey, and we'll get Carl to go over a little bit about we'll keep it very basic.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll have a whiteboard or something that he can kind of explain. We're not going to get up to probably won't get the multiplexing, but just basic radio, how it works. We'll take a break from the commercial side. We'll let the radio heads get in here and kind of understand that technology, because later we'll be talking about in 1950s multiplexing and you know, carrying two signals.
Signal.
Yeah, a lot of Carl's like, I got a whiteboard.
I hope Marshall's not watching this. He'll be coming out with a load of shit tomorrow again.
Have a what?
He'll be coming out with a load of shit tomorrow when Marshall. She's watching this.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't much think of it. I do my own thing on here. I mean, I pop over and say I did have a good hangout last night. I really enjoyed talking about the RV show in Tampa. You were there, Harvey.
Yeah. Sure.
It was a very well run hangout. I like the way it went.
I know. I seem to be getting popular, famous on the Boys. I mean, Marshall actually mentioned me 3 times. Wow. Holy shit.
You're it. You're getting popular. What's going on, Juice? Nice to see you. Harvey, take over for a minute, okay?
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, talk to people about that. Tell people how. Take a minute if you don't mind.
No.
And really explain in a little more detail how that carbon, how we get that modulated signal out of a telephone mouthpiece or a microphone.
Right. Okay. So they discovered one of the first microphones was a carbon microphone. So I don't know if you've ever opened one of your telephones at home years ago when you was a kid. I mean, I used to take apart my parents' telephone. They used to kill me, to chase me around the room. So what the hell are you doing? I said, well, no, it's all right. I know what I'm doing. Don't worry about it. But if you take the microphone out, or one of the old headsets from the 1970s, there's a little metal diaphragm, very, very delicate. You've got to be careful. And you slide it off, and inside there's a magnet. It's like a little tiny horseshoe magnet, and the diaphragm sticks to that. And then you've got a tiny little rod in the middle of the horseshoe magnet. What it does, it compresses carbon. If you get a load of carbon granules, you can even make your own microphone, actually. You just get a little tin can. Let me see, what was it now? You get a tin can, you put a load of carbon granules in the tin can, and you put a little metal plate into the tin can, and you literally can make your own. And what it does, when you compress carbon, it creates a voltage, right? And depending on the voice, so you got the voice, okay, which varies in intensity, obviously, and that varies the resistance on the carbon granules. So it reproduces your voice at the other end. So you actually can get two of those microphones, connect it with a long telephone line. This is what I used to do, get two of those, and have to talk to my friend without using the stupid old two tin cans and a piece of string. So that's what I used to do. I used to find some old telephones in the charity shops and connect the two microphones up, and that's what I used to do. But I used to mess about stuff like that when I was a kid. I weren't interested in football or anything like that, really. I was more into the electronic side of things. In other words, what do you call me? What do you call myself? Geek. Geek. And I don't care. I'm a geek. There we go.
We're all geeks. We're geeks, Harvey.
Yeah, that's right.
I always think of the human side of things too, Harvey. And in my way of thinking, being an inventor was also probably had one of the highest death rates of any classification of avocation from about 1880 to probably around 1920. You know
what's funny about microphones, because like a lot of studios now, I mean, I've got two here. I've got a condenser microphone when I'm doing some serious recording, and a condenser microphone, you need an external power supply. I think it's what is it now, 18 volts or something from my Yamaha mixer. But did you know that the condenser microphone was actually invented by Edison back in the 1920s?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Edison was just, as I've said before, Edison was just a bull.
Yeah.
He would have an idea and he would test it a million ways to Sunday until he finally achieved success or just failed.
Yeah, that's right.
But I will tell you what, Harvey, my assertion that to be an inventor was a very dangerous thing and a tinkerer back then. Yeah. Harvey, how many people do you think fell off rooftops screwing around with antennas?
Oh my God. You know what? The first ever transmission Marconi made in England was in London, and it's in the center of London somewhere. I can't exactly remember where, but it's one of the very first post office buildings, and there's a plaque to signify the fact that's where he transmitted his first radio signal.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking that the average poor slob that climbed a tree to try to put an antenna wire up, or hooked up a capacitor backwards and got blown out a third floor window of a laboratory. Picked up the wrong beaker and thought it was Kool-Aid, and it was actually, I'll
tell you what, do you know the history of Marconi? Did you realize that his mother, she was Irish, and she was part of the Jameson whiskey family?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she went off to Italy and met a rich Italian landowner, and they got married. So he was born into a very wealthy family, Marconi.
Well, the other thing too, Harvey, is Marconi points up my assertion that you only have a little bit, you only have a limited bit of miraculous genius to work with. In other words, Marconi with the spark gap technology and all that, that was great. Okay, in the first wireless broadcast. But when somebody came to Marconi and suggested that they use this to start to carry voice and music, Marconi said that this should not be used for entertainment purposes. This should strictly be used for business, for commercial, messaging. The inability to see that, I'm sure when DOS and the early computers and when I, was working on a mainframe in 1975, 76, nobody thought about internet and there was no thought about, a YouTube or anything like that, right? But here's Marconi when somebody comes to him and says, hey, we can have the fun side of this, and his genius only stretches so far. You know what, Harvey? But he cannot cut over. Maybe he thinks because it cheapens his technology to use it for fun and games. You know what I'm saying? Some people might be put off by that at that era. They might think, oh, Marconi was the one that had this goofy opera over. It was this ridiculous things. I think it's very.
It's funny though, because when Marconi wanted to build more powerful transmitters, what he actually did was build even bigger induction coils. And the trouble is, these induction coils made a terrible noise. They were so noisy, so he encased them all in like an oak case to make them less noisy. But then after that, obviously, when they started, those signals were just totally unmodulated and caused so much interference. And then when it started modulating the radio signals, they were completely banned, spark transmitters.
Well, they certainly consume a lot of power.
Oh, yeah.
Things, they're dangerous, and people were very scared. Yeah, Marconi never envisioned the hit parade. He never envisioned Lawrence Welk and the boys.
That's right.
Right. How does this have 70? It's just the times we live in right now, Linda Francine, but the thumbs up and the thumbs down, I don't live my life by that. On January 3rd, 2013, when the channel went airborne, I was given a choice. Do you want your rating to show on a video, thumbs up and thumbs down? I checked the box yes, and I never changed it again. And I got a skin as thick as a rhino. Yeah. Does not bother me in the least little bit about that, because I know that the thumbs down will never corroborate with the comment section, and that's what YouTube validates with. If you have a lot of negative thumbs down, unless there's a corresponding number of negative comments that that logarithmically tracks that. Because if people truly dislike a video, they usually stop and will make a negative comment on the video. Yeah. But according to their algorithms, if they don't have the corresponding negative comments, then they just throw it out as statistically not valid. It doesn't. That's right, Carl. It all helps as long as people are weighing in. That's exactly correct. So. Yeah. You
know what? I guarantee you, one of those thumbs downs belonged to Marshall. Definitely.
That's funny. Yeah. But isn't it amazing, though, that one person will develop and invent a technology and another person will make coin on it? You know what I'm saying, Harvey?
Yeah.
Because that's the difference between, thank you, Carol, I appreciate, that's the difference between the mind that understands how to commercialize something and the mind that understands the invention, and they don't often meet. Yeah. The people, Edison was one of the few that had more of a commercial mind than an inventing mind.
That's right. Yeah.
He cared more about, his laboratory motive was make damn sure that you have something that's of practical and commercial value. Don't waste your time on you know, airy fairy flights of fantasy, flights of fancy.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a better light bulb. You stay working on that till you get one. Okay, that's the bottom line. So he was more of a commercial. That's why his great success, and of course the beginning of General Electric Corporation and his laboratory. Let's see.
So I'm just having a little drink.
What's your favorite beverage of choice, Harvey?
Well, soft drink.
Okay. Do you drink alcohol at all?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that. I'm just joking with you. I'm just.
Well, I'll drink anything really. But if I'm, you know, if I go down to a nice English pub down the road from me, they got a microbrewery, and I like craft ales. They're really strong.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I do love. They call them real ales over here, and I love real ales. I really do.
Yeah, I like more stouts and lagers and.
Well, Guinness. Yeah, I even have Guinness sometimes. Very good.
You've seen me have. I'm a right old soaker. No.
Yeah, sure.
I like to have a Guinness stout once in a while. I mean, to me, it's a delicious beer. It's almost like a beer breakfast in a can. Isn't that they call it over there?
Liquid lunch.
Liquid lunch. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had those at the bank when I was. We used to have liquid lunches and go back to our computer desk. Absolutely stay of our heads.
Another productive day, Harvey.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
I used to call it another day hiding out from the boss, right? You know,
That's it. That's it.
Boss
You've got it.
I'm always fascinated by the history that they don't write. These people that can see somebody else's idea, like Bill Gates seeing the IBM DOS operating system, and just, you know, look at the payoff for him. You know, on that purchase was enormous. He could never create that operating system.
Well, the best business deal he ever made, buying it off. I can't remember who it was, and he actually bought it off. But he bought off. Who was it now? I can't remember the name of the guy. He paid so little for it. Unbelievable. Cool.
Yeah, I know IBM was somewhere in the mix with that technology too.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you that people just seem to have different kind, and it's a good thing too, because that's what advances civilization is. Harvey may have the genius brain for invention, and I might have the genius brain for making coin out of that, you know, and packaging and marketing and okay, thank you, Cobra John. Yeah, you're still a young chicken, Cobra John. Don't be talking like that.
Well, it's a bit like Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. I mean, Steve Wozniak, he was the actual engineer. He was the electronics expert. And Steve Jobs was the guy who commercialized everything, who thought of the ideas for publicity and design and stuff like that, really. Well, not design, but more the...
Yeah, well, the genius of Steve Jobs was whacking people in the head and saying, hey, that's really cool and really great, but you better make it 1/10 of the size of what you got there, and you better make sure it's easy to use for the average person to adapt to technology.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. People didn't want to walk around with a brick. They were tired of walking around with a phone brick and these kind of things. And he was the one that said, let's make a phone a computer too. Let's pack it with tons of apps and other. That was his genius to do that.
I know, it's amazing.
I don't ever think they had great success with computing, Harvey. I'll still maintain that to this day. You know, not under Steve Jobs. I mean, Apple went through really tough times.
Yeah,
you know, Steve Jobs was gone.
He was fired. Yeah,
they had that goof from Pepsi-Cola that came in.
That's right. Yeah,
they had that goof from chairman of Pepsi-Cola that came in. Jesus. And he didn't really, okay, you're welcome, Susie. He didn't really know what was going on. And, you know, he was poor. So, you know, that gave rise for companies like Dell to be born and some other ones to take advantage of that. It was only really when the iPod, Harvey, was really the thing. The MP3 technology of having, you know, your MP3 players, the iPods, that was the really enormous.
Right.
thing. You know.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the movie. Did you see the movie Steve Jobs?
No.
It's really, really good because apparently what he done is he had a daughter called Lisa, and then he made this computer called Elisa, but it was a real failure. It was a complete and utter failure. And then he saw his daughter with a portable cassette, you know, like a Walkman.
Yeah.
And he said, right, I'm going to invent a device. I'm going to have this device, and you can store about 1,000 albums on a little small device like that. And then, yeah.
Hey, way back. Thank you. Good luck with the Dynatech. Did you see my video of the Dynakit today, Harvey?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel about the destruction of a Mullard?
Oh, you know what? That's why I actually I sent you an email about that. What valve was destroyed? Because I might even have one here. I don't know.
Well, it's an EL34. I think I have some other ones around the shop.
Oh, you have?
You know what, Harvey? That looked to be a nice, well-balanced set of original Mullers, you know?
Beautiful machine. Made when I was born as well. God. Oh, all right. Sorry, it's got 4 times EL34s, 2 times 7199s, and 1 GX34. That's probably a rectifier valve or something.
Yeah, it's a rectifier. Instead of using a 5GUY, 5GYU, this one's capable of more, delivering more power across a broader range of frequencies. So these are pretty, they were matched, Carl. They were beautifully matched. What makes this Dynakit so special? It was a beautifully matched. It wasn't a common tube complement on that thing. The EL34 is okay, but the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a beautiful lamp. Oh my God. 35 watts per channel into 8 ohms as well. Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes, brilliant. That's why they've done so many reproductions and sell the replacement boards to go into that. So I don't really have a view on Nerf controls, Shelley. I'm sorry.
And is it the Series 1 you've got? Because there was a Series 2 as well.
Yeah, I think this is the Series 1.
Right. Do you need the service manual? Because I've got it right in front.
No, I got it all. I'm a member of Hi-Fi Engine. So
all right. Yeah, yeah.
I get everything.
Me too.
I'm on the Audio Karma. You know me, Harvey. I'm on every freaking board that you can go on for years.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh wow.
You know.
Yeah. We're a couple of geeks.
First time I went on to Audio Karma, you can see my picture there. I have a black top on it, and it makes my breast look enormous on there.
I've seen that one.
You know, I'd have all these zillion guys writing, and you know, I want to come over and fiddle with your knobs and do all this.
Oh, holy shit!
You know, shit.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, they did do a brilliant job of assembling that kit, and the other brilliant thing that they did was somebody along the line chose to get the Muller EL34 output tubes. Hello, planning, Pam. Which you know, I don't. That's the only Mullers I ever had. You know, I can't afford Mullers. I don't want reproduction.
No, it's not the same. No.
Although
I went through a phase of buying a load of valves. I kept buying valves. I've got a great big massive box upstairs with some.
I got it.
If I see any, I'm going to send them to you anyway.
Well, I got tons of them, Harvey, but I appreciate that. What's your view on directed energy? I know that Jen has a lot of thoughts about directed energy as weaponry, and she can tell you a lot of stories about how they've used this technology to,
pulse energy. That's what they call it, pulse energy technology or something like that.
Yeah, it's putting out, elf weapons are reality. So I don't know a lot about it. Jen's shaking her head like, "Don't I got no idea what the hell you're talking." She's like, I'm out. She's looking at me like, "What the hell are you talking about?" So there. So.
Hello, Jen, beautiful. Ik liebe dich, Jen.
Yeah.
Can she hear me?
Yeah.
Can't hear her. Oh,
that was really heartbreaking.
oh my God!
I didn't even talk. Yeah, and it can charge your phone. I didn't even talk about the the rectifier tube being, that was punctured too on that. It degassed. Just a mess,
It's amazing. I love equipment that's been hardwired, and it's only got, I think, one of the very first, one of the early circuit boards in there.
Oh, really early circuit.
Yeah.
You can see the bottom of it. A beautiful board. But these things are really, these original ones are really brittle and delicate. And I'm lucky that didn't get smashed up.
Oh,
I told people it's the equivalent. Yeah, the boards look good. The board looks okay, Carl. What I noticed, what I compared it to, Harvey, was when you take like a Aston Martin, classic 56 Aston Martin, you put it in a shipping container.
Oh, God.
And then put it on a roller coaster. Don't tie it down. Don't secure it. Just put it on the roller coaster and let her rip upside down and over under coaster and see what it looks like when it comes out of the.
I mean, the proper way, obviously, to send an amp like that, you mark the actual valve sockets, or if you got the service manual, you know exactly where to go. But take out all the valves and you wrap them in foam all individually, and you send things off like that. You don't send equipment off with the valves in place. That's ridiculous. Never heard of it.
I'm damn glad the cage didn't get bent.
Oh my God.
On that,
Yeah, I was watching it and I was in a cold sweat. I thought, oh, lovely piece of equipment like that, and I just, it really annoys me.
Yeah, they should be removed. They should be separately foamed and wrapped.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will separately put that in a separate box too. Box within.
Exactly. That's what I would have done.
And I'm discouraged. You know what? I'm going to be leaving the rebuilding business. I'm just going to be a tinkerer with the technology.
Yeah.
I'm too discouraged to get anything by mail. You think you got a great deal on this technology, and something that when it's functioning can run about $800. You're lucky you pick it up for about $90, and then you're going to have to put money into. It's going to have an unbalanced tube complement and all. It's just heartbreaking seeing something like that. It survived all these years. It survived. The same length of time as me and you, and that's it. Get shipped, and that's it. Finished. Game over. Game over. That Mullard tube existed so long, and it just.
And they're very reliable Mullard tubes. They very rarely burn out. They're such reliable tubes in the Mullard ones.
I know. Yeah. Don't you think I was happy, Harvey? I mean, the seller didn't even know what he had. Hello, Jen. The seller didn't. I wasn't trying to rip anybody off. I bought the thing. I didn't know when I opened it up I would have EL34 Mullers. Well, we're just freewheeling, Elvis. Hello.
Yes, we are, Marshall.
Yeah,
I'll bet you any money, Marshall, you put a thumbs down on here. I bet you do.
We're the two kings of thumbs down now in the community.
Yeah, I think I get a load of thumbs down on my streams as well, and I'm sure it's coming from Marshall.
Yeah, for me though, it never moves my needle at all. It never has. As long as people are interacting, that's great. So the person assembled the spinning. Yeah, I say way back technologies that the person that assembled that Dyna kit is probably spinning themselves a dust storm in their grave or lack of care taking and shipping. I was very impressed, Harvey. Some kit things I've gotten have been a disaster underneath. This person, all the wires were stripped to uniform length for the leads, and it was somebody who took great care and really did a wonderful job. There was pride. I wish I was around in the 50s when so much stuff had been kit technology, and you can get kits today, but they're all Chinese kits and stuff. So,
I used to buy a load of kits in the early 70s. I mean, see, the thing is, when I was a kid, I was never interested in football. I hated soccer. I mean, that's very unusual for an English guy.
Yeah.
Not to like soccer.
Harvey, I'm getting a notification that you're delinquent in your taxes to Marshall here.
Oh my God! Pay your taxes. Pay your taxes to your Assyrian king. No, and you know what I used to do? I used to go down to a place called Edgware Road. That's in the centre of London, where it's not the city of London, but it's just on the outskirts of London. And there also used to be another road called Tottenham Court Road, and it was filled full of electronic shops in those days. And I used to go down and I used to buy. There was something called Heath kits. I don't know if you heard of.
I was telling you on one of the hangouts that I was 15 years old and I got a Heath kit AM FM kit. I put it together. It worked brilliantly. You know.
Yeah, that's what I used to do. I used to build electronic kits all the time.
That's what I used to do, was put kits together, and I would pick up the parts, and I would start to wonder, what's this part? What's that part? What does this do? That's Harvey, your curiosity gets stimulated, right?
Certainly does. I'll tell you what got me started.
Linda Francine says her father built 2 shortwaves from Hallicrafters. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, Heathkit had brilliant transceivers and things. They had. It was just great. It was just brilliant technology and stuff. So it was, you know, and you learn a lot, right?
Yeah. What got me into it is it was one Christmas. I think I was 8 years old, and my parents bought me a Philips electronics kit, and you had these little cards. You had a baseboard, and you had to poke these little springs through the diagrams, and you connected all the components up, and you could make infrared.
Yeah, they were early breadboard.
That's what got me into it. Yeah. And there was another one, Denshi. You've heard of Denshi?
Yeah. Harvey, Marshall says, Harvey, pay homage to the Assyrian kings at the British Museum. You should go over there and do some content, Harvey. Go do a video at the British Museum. Go find some of that Assyrian stuff and put it up. You'll have 10,000 views on it.
Really? Right. Okay. I'm going to do that.
You do a video called the roots of Elvis travels, right? And the Assyrian kings, and you're right there at the British Museum, right, with that stuff, right? Brilliant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Carl, I have Heathkit signal generators, Heathkit signal tracers. I have lots and lots of Heathkit technology. I always enjoy that. Jen, let's go easy with that wrench, and just time people out, and just that's all you have to do. So.
Yeah, sorry, I haven't been looking at the chat. I've been looking at you, Rosie, in the green room there. So, because it's delayed, as you know.
Of course. Hello, Real DJ. Nice to see you. Yeah, I don't know anything about Assyrian blood. I don't know. What do you want to do, Susie? You want to have Marshall's baby, or what? Is that what you're wondering? I don't know.
I thought Marshall had Tasha.
What about Tasha?
I don't know. I thought it was Marshall's new girlfriend.
Let's see. Marshall says, Rosie, I'm having dal soup and non-garlic. Non-garlic. That's delicious.
Ah.
Yeah, I love that naan bread. I love that stuff.
Naan bread is nice.
Yeah.
Must admit.
Well, that's why he had to get the heck out of Ocala. He just couldn't, not Ocala, but Ocala. He couldn't find the Middle Eastern food that you can find in the Tampa area down there. So, yeah, I was joking, Susie. So,
oh dear.
He eats well. I'd like to be eating some of that Middle Eastern food myself. I'm more I like the Turkish stuff more than I've had Jordanian and Lebanese, but more to the Turkish.
You know what I did in the 80s? There were some friends of mine. They own a garage. They're Italians, and what we decided to do, and there wasn't one available anywhere, was an Italian pirate radio station. So Anyway, I got the design. I found the schematic somewhere to build quite well. It's I don't know. I think it was probably about 100 watt. It was an AM transmitter, and I built this thing, and I've still got it upstairs actually. And what we had to do, we had to set the antenna up, but obviously it was transmitting on 1305 kilohertz, and the antenna has got to be tuned to the actual frequency. You can't just set, put any length of wire up. It's got to be tuned.
Well, yeah. I mean,
so so we had to build a loading coil to make up the electrical length of the signal.
Yeah. Did you ever see the transmitter I built for here on the Rancho? We built a little FM.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, let me grab it and show it to you.
All right. Okay. Brilliant. Yeah, fun days running a pirate radio station. Yeah, it was fun. We used to get fan mail and stuff like that. People writing in, because I was the engineer, I was a DJ, I was a producer, and a jingle maker. I was everything. And we used to get fan mail coming in. Good fun. Yeah. Then we built a massive transmitter. I think we covered all of the south coast of England from London, which is pretty good. And then we got a warning from the Home Office saying, if you don't come off, we're going to arrest you and you're going to be imprisoned. So we thought, oh, holy shit. So we had to come off, unfortunately. But there we go. It's either that or jail. Oh boy. Yeah, some of the things I've done in my life. Bloody hell. Hell. Even learned to fly aircraft, because I love airplanes, so I went to learn how to fly as well. I don't know. What haven't I done in my life?
Yeah, you can just put Rancho Radio in the search. You can just put Rancho Radio in the search box, and you can see we actually use this to transmit Tchaikovsky's.
That's the small little FM transmitter, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And
yeah,
the thing worked. We have a video up. We have it 2 years. I drive Jen crazy. I'd have the unit. I'd have the Sherwood in the kitchen.
Brilliant.
This thing would be squealing the Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture over it and stuff. It was.
That's it. So the transistor. That's the. So that's part of the basic oscillator circuit.
That's it.
It's tuning coil. And that's it. Basic. Is it a set frequency?
Yeah, it's a set frequency. It's not variable frequency.
No, I can't see no variable.
It also changes frequency every time you fire it up. It's never the same.
Yeah,
so.
That makes sense.
But a really nice little piece of technology. Thank you, Carrie. This would actually broadcast. You would put an MP3. You could actually hook like your phone,
an
MP3 output to it, and I would actually broadcast a signal around the Rancho that could be picked up on an FM. It wasn't stereo. It was mono. No. I did pick up the parts to build a stereo one, but I just, Harvey, you never get around to stuff. You want to.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it, yeah. God.
What do KKRO Rancho Radio or something? It's a couple fun videos of building this and then operating it. So
that's cute.
That's what I said, Harvey. I should have been born in the 1870s.
Yeah, me too.
All the glory days. I might have fallen off a building with mucking around with an antenna or something.
So what was the frequency of that transmitter, Rosie?
Like 101. 101.
Right. The antenna length was probably probably a meter or something like that.
Well, this is it. That's the whole. You got the coil. That was it.
Oh, that's it. You haven't got an external, small external.
No, I have nothing external at all. Just coming right out of that.
Wow.
Coil.
You could have actually boosted the signal a bit more actually if you use a small antenna on that.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Just didn't want to get that fancy with stuff.
Yeah, then you might get a neighbor picking up something. They're listening to some station, and there's Rosie on the airways there.
Yeah, Carl's right. I did, Carl. Now that you're reminding me, you can spread the coil to change the frequency on this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I believe I moved it from like if my memory serves me correctly, 98 to like 100 on the FM dial. It's just a simple thing. Carl's. If you haven't subscribed to Sky Carl, he's brilliant out there. You can look at some of the things that.
Right, I'm doing it right
he's
now.
Done. Yeah, he has a much stronger theoretical basis. I'm more of a tinkerer, and you know, I'm a person that can look at something and figure out how to fix it. But he has the raw technical knowledge that drives design. So
that's it. I subbed you now, Sky Carl. You're subbed. There we go.
I sub him up because he also. How many people build their own plane in their own home?
I know, amazing. Oh God! If I had a garage, if I had a big garage big enough, that was always a plan of mine to build a light aircraft, because I've always been into flying ever since I was a kid, you know. And I learned to fly Cessnas and Pipers and stuff like that. I can fly airplanes, but
well, I'm gonna be honest with you, Harvey, and Carl. Don't hate me when I tell you this. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
There's no way on God's green earth that I would ever get into a plane like that and fly. Now, I'm not saying, look, Carl did a brilliant job building it. Okay, how you doing, Vinny? Yeah, Botswana R&B. Man, you killed me, Vinny. I'm going to get to that in a minute, but he built 2 planes, Harvey, and although he never flew this plane, he had some health stuff come up. Actually, he's looking great now. He had some health things come up. Yeah. But go look at his presentation. You want to talk about professional presentation that he did. I mean, he's just brilliant when he talks about building his plane and uses the slideshows or the presentation mode. And, you know, if I got on that thing and I knew how to fly, that thing would probably fly beautifully and be safe.
100%. So I'm really into aircraft. You know, my dad, when I was little, he used to always take me to Heathrow Airport, and we used to watch all the planes taking off and landing. In those days, they were really noisy because they didn't have such, you know, efficient engines like they got now. But the early sort of DC-10s and stuff like that, oh my God, they were such noisy damn engines, you know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I used to go watch airplanes all the time, and that really got me into flying. No, I love flying. Even going on vacation somewhere, you know. As soon as you get to the airport, I'm like a little excited kid looking forward to the flight. I just love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just think I like people that can do that type of work, and I always wondered where the Sky came from in Sky Carl, and I never knew that he was that heavy into planes. And he said he was just about the point where he was going to get. I guess it makes sense. You're not allowed to just put anything up in the air, right? You have to have what's called an airworthy certificate. I guess I don't know if somebody has to come and inspect the plane and physically examine it. You probably pay so much money, and somebody from the Air Transportation Board. I have no idea. Yeah. I have no idea, Carl, how people
got to be registered, hasn't it, as well?
You probably take it to an airport, and they probably do some initial inspection at the airport, and then I don't know what they do beyond that to get a certificate of airworthiness. I know it's probably not cheap, so no.
Is Carl asking me if I'm in England? I think he is. Are you asking me if I'm in England, Carl?
Yeah, he's in London.
Yeah.
He's very big into. He's really big into reel-to-reel repairing, reel-to-reel tape.
Recorders, reel-to-reels, Tandbergs, Akai's, Revox, all sorts. Yeah, love it. I'm into all audio side of things. Just love it. I adore it.
Do you sell stuff at all, Harvey, or do you just?
I have done. Yeah, but you know what? Sometimes you buy something to repair, and you think, right, I'm going to repair it and sell it. And I'll tell you what, after you start using it, oh, wow, this is brilliant. This sounds great. And I think, shit, I'm getting attached to it. And then I end up keeping the damn thing.
You see this behind me, Harvey, over here? Most of these units, Harvey, were things that I wanted to buy and repair and sell.
Yeah.
And they got stuck to my hands, especially the Fisher Row here, you know, and that's like Rances. I could never sell this kind of.
You fell in love with it all.
They sound brilliant, and they're beautiful to look at. You know, it's like, Harvey, the way you feel about your ladies. These are all my ladies up here. Right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And
even the most fugly ones I have, I still love them. You know
the best thing about them? They don't cost anything to keep.
Right. Yeah, they don't need a lot too. You know, they're brilliant. But I guess my Sony's the most underappreciated, I think, of all of them. The Sony systems, the STR series of Sony.
Right. Oh yeah. I remember those. Yeah.
Just brilliant.
STR means stereo tuner receiver, something like that. STR, I think the abbreviation is. Yeah, stereo tuner receiver. Sounds right, doesn't it?
I went to Vinny's Hangout last night. He's like, Rosie.
Last night.
He's like, Rosie, Botswana R&B. Like, what? Botswana R&B. Okay, I'll bite. He puts it on.
G'day, Vinny. How you doing, cubber?
It's freaking R&B. Then he turns on Chinese R&B. I lived in China 5 years. I never thought there was a Chinese R&B. Now today he's got Zulu R&B.
Oh God! It's funny though. I think I've got the same parentage as Vinny. You know, because my mother was Italian, but I think it's the other way around with Vinny. And my dad was Australian. But I reckon I'm not sure, Vinny. If you could let me know, is your father Italian and your mother's Australian? Because I'm the other way around. Where's he gone?
Japanese heavy metal. But Vinny's another one that, I think I have a close attachment to Vinny because he's rebuilt pinball machines. He took a jukebox and set it up so it plays like 8,000 something ridiculous million of tunes or something like that. So he's brilliant. He took a laptop screen out of a laptop. He put an adapter on it. He hooked it up to a Raspberry Pi. And it's just amazing. He's now tied that into his Alexa, and it comes up on the screen. He's brilliant.
That's good. Yeah.
And, he's another one in a small crew. There. Oh, the Mother's Bosque.
Oh, right.
Belgian immigrant. Okay.
Ah, right. Yeah. Thanks for that information, Vinny. That's interesting. Yeah, it's always interesting to find out, where people come from and the parents come from. So that's good.
Yeah, he's kind of like me, except for new technology. He's very curious about, like he works on his show and stuff, and wants to, he's got his soundboard and he's got his music generator. See, if I play a tune on here, I just turn it on in the background, and sometimes it sounds overmodulated, it's crappy, but his stuff comes on and it just sounds brilliant on his system. He's got a better speaker. I'm just using these Logitech built-ins are just so lousy,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Lousy.
Yeah, I'll have to do a little demo of some of the old Apple equipment I've got. So I've got Apple II Euro Plus. I've got one of those with the original monitor, disk drives. And upstairs I've got one of the very first Apple Macintoshes. And I've got an SE30 and what is it? Oh, I've got the whole range of them, really. I've got to get rid of them. I need to sell them. I can't hang on to all this stuff. It's crazy.
Vinny bought his Homer Simpson moo-moo. In the shower cap. Don't Bart. How you doing, Bergs? Tell me how many hours you've been off the high gravity stuff. How you doing, Bergs? Nice to see you.
Français, eh? Parlez-vous français, Vinny? Parlez-vous français? Mon ami? Yeah, I'm not too bad at French. I
don't think you're going to be doing that, Bergs. That's for damn sure. I'll be doing that.
Yeah, French and Italian is my languages, really. They're the only two I really know. A little tiny bit of Spanish, but not much. I can understand Spanish people when they talk because it's very similar to Italian. It's on the sort of same basis, really.
Well, Latin-based languages, I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, when I started studying Chinese, man, that was a totally different kettle of fish.
I bet.
Tonal language. Oh, it's not the real bird. So just take it. Let them stay. That's fine. I don't care.
What's that thing in Chinese?
I'm always very light with the ranch. Juice is light with the ranch. So Jen's light with the ranch. It's cool.
I'm very light as well. Yeah, I don't,
you know, don't do hangouts if you're going to be a snowflake and not let people have their say.
That's good. Yeah. Oui, je parle français, l'italien, Aussie, a little bit of Italian, Australian.
Yeah. Harvey.
Yeah. I've got it.
Oh, wow.
Coop. There's Coop. Hi, Coop.
Yeah, you know, how you doing, Coopy? I would like to, and how you doing, honey? I would like to rebuild a pinball machine one day because I enjoyed pinball so much.
Yeah.
And I like all the analog technology of that.
Yeah, me too. That's what I like.
I like the mechanical, electrical interfaces, and that's right up my alley because that's my expertise is really mechanical, electrical interfaces.
And they're both, aren't they? It's an electromechanical device.
Mm-hmm. That's all it is: magnets and plungers and relays, and
yeah, that's it. Brilliant.
All that.
Where would you put it, Rosie? Where would you put the pinball machine?
God, that's a good question. I mean, we're
the shine check.
You know, let me get close to the microphone like Vinny here. Here we go.
Oh, don't. Brilliant.
Jen doesn't want to see one more piece of technology come into this house. Okay.
She came in my house, she'll have a fit. I'm telling you.
It was so bad at one point she couldn't even get through the garage to get to the bottled water to boil it because of the piles of shit out there.
Oh Jesus.
And one day I just deep sixed it off. I just made a bulk sale and just got rid of all the crap out there. You know,
if anybody tried to burgle my house before, I'll tell you what, they'll fall over and break their skulls. I've got booby traps all over the place. Oh.
Well, I guess we could put one out in the Shine Shack out there. You know, I'm gonna when it gets warmer, I'm gonna move my operations out to the Shine Shack there. Oh, Russian R&B. I did see that, Carl. I was on that. He did a good series on, I don't know if he's ever going to finish up the jukebox. He had the hell was that? Carl, what jukebox did he restore? It wasn't the one I had to, I can't even think of the name of it. I had not a Wurlitzer. He had a Seabird. He had a Seabird one.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. I thought Coop he always looks great. You know, he was on, I like it with the shades on and all that. Okay, I didn't see because he went back and he had trouble with the tracking, you know, the heart of the jukebox was, you know, the one that would go and snatch the record, pull it out, and then all that. And that was all analog, you know. And it's just, I remember I had a Rockola.
Rockola, yeah,
Rockola amplifier.
Nice.
Yeah. And I sold that. I got a good price on that. He finally dialed that in. That's cool. He's restoring a Thunderbird now.
Oh, lovely. Oh my God. His
wife had a really bad episode, had to be hospitalized and everything. Nice guy down in Arkansas.
God.
Really a nice guy.
Oh. Yeah, you know what? If I can get out there.
What's going on, Dave?
I think if I can get out of this house, I think I'll buy myself a nice jukebox. Either I don't know, a Wurlitzer. They're quite expensive. The Wurlitzers, they cost a fortune. Or even a Rockola, something like that. It's fine, you know. Fill it full of 50s and 60s records, or mainly sort of 50s to mid 60s. You know, within a space of say a decade.
Yeah, I think Harvey, if I get if I do get another. If I do get a jukebox, I'm gonna go for the gold and get a Wurlitzer. You know.
Wow.
I'm just gonna go for a Wurlitzer. Maybe I'll try to find. I don't know. I mean, some days I get up and I want to sell this place and just pack it all in, and then. But Jen loves it so much here that.
That'd be a shame, wouldn't it?
So because she loves it here, I cannot load the place with a ton of technology. There's a lot of I'm going to get rid of a lot of tuners, Harvey. Sell a lot of tuners. I got this Lafayette. I got to work on this Lafayette tuner.
Oh God, I remember Lafayette's. Yeah.
I mean, I got a lot of stuff I still haven't even gotten across the shop. But like I said, Vinny, I don't know if you saw my video today on the Dynakit 70 stereo amplifier. Had 4 very beautiful matched Mullard Great Britain made tubes, and the Mullard's top of the line for vacuum tubes. They're the best of the best of the best. Fisher's good too. Yeah, know how to fix them. That's right, Koopy. So one of them was smashed in transit, very sadly.
What a bloody shame.
Here. You're already joined, Vodka Lime. You're already joined. All you have to do is get your head out of your rear and you're ready to go. So let's see. Yeah, I know. I can't hope to replace the Mullard with original one. So yeah, you need a nuclear power station to run all your crap down there now, Vinny. I'm still convinced that you're gonna get your nutsack blown off one night. You're gonna touch the wrong thing in your setup there, and kaboom.
Might be able to find some on eBay, you know, EL34s. Let me have a look.
Oh, there's plenty here. I can find a ton of EL34s. The problem is, Harvey, that they're a match set of EL34s.
Yeah.
Oh. Some people don't care. Some people just pull them out. What I'm probably going to do, I'm going to buy 4 Svetlana. I know there's money in pinball repair, Coop. I know that. Why don't you do a video on your machine there? Give us a good close-up demo of that machine. But I'm telling you, Harvey, I'm going to pull the remaining Mullards. I'm going to test them up, write down the specs on them. Yeah. I'm going to box them up and put them away. And
Really?
I'm buying a set of 4 Svetlanas here, and I'm just going to stick them in.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, why not?
You know? I'm just too discouraged today. I'm just too bloody sad over the turn of events on that, you know, because, can you imagine when you open it up and, wow, Mullard.
Yeah. So how many valves actually broke then? Is it both the EL34s or any others as well? No,
the rectifier tube.
Oh shit, that as well. Oh.
Yeah, and that's kind of a rare one as opposed to the 5YGU or whatever the hell it is. I mean, this is a more broad power. This is a more broad power job. So, you know. More power throughput for higher frequencies and stuff. So,
oh, there's someone selling some here. Oh my God, how much? £150? You're kidding me? Is this for 4? Hang on, they got a picture of 4 here. I don't know. Let's see what he's selling exactly.
Make sure they're not reproduction ones, you know.
No, these original vintage Mullard XF2 EL34 working perfectly. They sound very nice indeed. I have no way of testing the valves, but they were tested when I bought them, and they've had very little use. But how many?
Yeah, see, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Nah.
Unless they got the emissions, and unless they put down the actual physical readings, I'm not buying that kind of stuff.
No. 150 quid. Oh God.
Yeah, did they give you did you say no returns?
Let's have a look. Oh yeah, that's the point. Let me have a look. Down, 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 down. And the page I go. No, where the hell is it now? Hang on a second. Read more. Doesn't bloody say actually. That's a bit weird. It normally says no returns.
Usually it says like up in the corner or something. See that, you know?
That's weird. I can't see it. Yeah, it hasn't been mentioned. Oh, hang on. Condition definitions. No,
Great,
well,
Mallory. I hope you find it.
you know what he's done? He's put for parts or not working. Oh, that's no good. Forget it.
Yeah, see, why would I ever fiddle with that? You know?
No way. I wouldn't touch it.
I'm not going to do that. I just want to buy. I'll pay a little more, but I don't know. You know.
Bloody shame. Why don't people pack things properly like they should be packed? I just don't understand the mentality of some people. I really don't understand it. That's just
like I said, Harvey, it's like it would be the equivalent. What's your favorite? It'd be equivalent if I took a Maserati or I took a Ferrari, one of the most desirable and collectible Ferraris, and I put it into a shipping container and I strapped it to a roller coaster and just sent it. Now I don't tie down the Maserati. I just let it inside of the
crazy.
And I put it on a loop roller coaster and I just run that Ferrari up and down and through the loops and twisting. Then I come to you and Harvey, I say, before you want to buy this or not? Right? And you say, well, probably not now, you know, because you know what that's going to like. It's not moths, it's just dust in here from afternoon sunlight just reflecting. People tell me it's orbs around, but the sun actually stimulates things to move in the air and all that. So
yeah, I think they say the rule of thumb is if you pack something delicate, you should be able to drop it from at least 4 foot high or something like that.
Yeah, I pack things. My rule of thumb is if it's going to be dropped, 6 feet dead drop.
Well, 6 feet, yeah.
And I've never had anything ever returned.
No, me neither.
For shipping problem. Yeah, it's light refraction, Vinny.
No, that's what it is. It looks like he's got little things floating around.
Yeah, it looks like sometimes people think there's orbs that appear on, but it's actually just refracting off of the just minute dust particles that are being enlarged by the focal
length of the
camera. So Harvey, why don't you ever put your projects online?
You know what I need to do? I've got a PC up in my kitchen, so I've got to work from my kitchen. I've got I haven't got much space in this house, you know. So what I need to do is set a camera up actually on the table itself. That's the only way I can do it, because there's no way I can work on something like holding an iPad in my hands or a phone. It just can't be done, you know. So I'm going to set up a tripod. I'll have to do it. I'll have to do something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see what I have here?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, that's good.
You ever use I use my cell phone for a lot of just on the fly. I can set that up.
Yeah, that's a good little one. Yeah.
And just have the phone right in there. What I need to do. Yeah. I can also, Harvey, because my hands don't need to be moving. You know, people don't need to see what a shitty solder job I do. I also can hold it like that and do the video. You know, so. You got to start doing some content, Harvey.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, I must follow in Marshall's footsteps, definitely.
Yeah, you got to stop flexing your muscles and stuff, and then you should see the cannons they have on ships. They can sink the shipping container.
Mama Beth, she's looking forward to my next workout, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Vinny, they really do have cannons, so you can sink the shipping container if it falls off. I would think that don't they have a boom on the side they can retrieve that shipping container? Or it's just not economical. Yeah, that's cool, Carl. I love these. I love these. Yeah, they're awesome. Okay. Well, okay.
Where's Cooper? Is he still there? Is he still
Yeah, I
there?
guess it's not economical to stop and try to retrieve a container. And I guess it's a hazard to maritime navigation if you leave a shipping container floating out there in the middle.
Oh, Jesus.
You know. That's
So they
pretty
actually
cool.
sink them. Is that what Vinny's saying? They actually sink it if one falls off.
Yeah, he says they have cannons. They'll shoot the shipping container.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, makes sense.
Hey, Rebel says all the equipment reminds me of Back to the Future when Marty played the amp guitar. I know. Yeah, that's what I figured, that they would be a risk to navigation. Yeah, I hear mixed results on the EL34 reproduction ones. The Chinese ones are particularly not so good. So I'm picking up some Svetlana's set of 4. I may actually end up grabbing 4 repo Mullards. I'm not sure, you know.
Yeah, good. I love the Transformers, and I'm just looking at it now, and those Transformers look really hefty. Look at that.
Do you see the speaker output transformers on that?
Oh no, they're huge. Look at that. Bloody hell! Yeah, I'm seeing right here. Yeah, so there's the main Transformer.
Thank you, Gallery. This was given by Joey D. Do not worry. I like it because it's so comfortable in the wintertime. Wintertime here. Let me turn it around. We can see the dust storm again. Damn, that's distracting. Look at that.
It is, isn't it?
Ooh, I'm floating in my tin can.
Yeah. Ground control to Major Tom. Love it.
I've never seen so much shit flying around a house in my life. Yeah, I think the Russian. Look at this. Do you see this, Harvey?
Oh, look.
Look at this. These dust particles not moving around. They're so minute. They're just wow. It's unbelievable. Look at that. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
You know, it looks like England in the spring when you get all the tiny little bits flying around.
You look for the air, and I think anytime you have a strong light, you always see like fine dust particles.
Wow, well, that's the first time I've ever seen that in your place. That's weird.
Look at it.
Christ, look at it. It's crazy. It's snowing.
Yeah, Mallory's like she's got to get on her 3D glasses to see the particles. So
see what's snowing, or someone's got bad.
Yeah, Carl said it's the Lawrence Welk Show.
Or very bad case of dandruff, eh?
Yeah, from Escondido, California. It's the Lawrence Welk Show. Thank you, boys. Wonderful, wonderful. Next, we'll hear Myron Florin on accordion play My Sweet Belle of Spain.
That name rings a bell. Lawrence Welk.
Lawrence Welk and the orchestra, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I always thought he was born overseas because his accent was so, it sounded like an Italian accent or something. He was born in North Dakota, so.
All right, okay.
You know,
because some people got, I mean, especially like Cary Grant. I think he had I think they called it a transatlantic accent. So he was neither American or neither English. He was a little bit of both, wasn't he?
Judy.
Yeah. What was it? I forgot his real name there. Oh God, it's a funny name. What was it? Oh sugar. Alexa, what was Cary Grant's real name?
Yeah, it's the Rosio Particle channel. Ernie Mott. I don't know who his name was.
Yeah.
Let me ask Tasha. I got travels with Tasha in here. Tasha, let me ask you a question, and thanks again for last night. Had a lot of fun talking to you about the show. What do you think of Middle Eastern food? Yeah, this is it, Juice. That's a tarot card reading session. What do you think of Middle Eastern food, Tasha? Oh, it was fun. Okay. Yeah, last night was. Yeah, I just wondering what you think of Middle Eastern food.
Oh, Tasha's there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's quite nice actually. I was yeah, yeah, quite lovely looking there, Tasha.
Yeah, she was. I thought she looked quite attractive.
Yeah.
You know, sitting there last night during the show, and the thing
Dog-
I liked the best about Tasha was her ability to just roll over, you know, the nonsense and keep a positive and
yeah,
a kind attitude instead of going ballistic and having a
yeah.
meltdown or something. She just kind of rolled with it. So I thought, you know, good on you. You know.
I was to say, keep everything on an even keel.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I've never sat with the sun exactly in the position here. It looks like most of the storm's over. But I thought it was very nice. I thought it was a very nice, you know, because I didn't really have much experience with that food before, but, you know, it was good. I don't know. I know in London you have brilliant Middle Eastern and Indian cuisine over there.
Oh, there is, yeah, up in the West End. That's right. Yeah, places like there's a place called Kingsway. You've been to London, haven't you, Rosie? Before?
Yes, many times. Yep.
Yeah, and there's a place called Kingsway, and it's full of Arabic and Syrian restaurants, Iranian restaurants. They're all up there in Kingsway.
Yeah, well, you know, I hung out in the. Hey, Vicky, I was in the Kensington Close. You know, the Kensington area,
yeah.
High Street over there, and
yeah, Ken High Street. Yeah, know it well. Right near Harrods.
that's pretty smart. Kasha says the king is a foodie, so I let him order for me. I tried again. That's cool. That's cool.
God, yeah, I wish I had a house in Kensington. Oh, holy shit.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I will, Koopy, but thanks for stopping by. Love you.
See you, Coop.
You go enjoy your dinner. Let's see, Alexander the Great stopped the war after he ate his Arabic food. Bruce, what does that mean? He had the shits or something. The army, the army came to a dead stop, or what are you saying? What are we saying? Barbecue time.
I like what Jen says. What are you talking about? I love when she says that. It's so cute. Oh, is she there? Is she around?
Who?
Jen, is she around?
She's around. Okay. Sky Carl said Cary Grant's real name is Archibald Alexander Leach.
That's right. Yeah, Archibald Leach. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Ju said no, he didn't want to kill all the food preppers. Wow, that's really awesome. Of course, Alexander the Great marched almost into China and stuff. I mean, and through the mountains and tremendous years on the road, years all through the Near East and the Middle East and almost to the Far East.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, Archibald Leach. Yeah, I can understand why he had to change his name.
It's Archibald Leach. Right.
Archibald.
Judy.
Yeah, great movies. What's that one I saw? Oh, it was bloody sad. I think he met this.
Oh, he had a sad. There was, goddamn, there was one movie. Cary Grant did. He was a husband. They were destitute. They couldn't take care of their kid.
And then the court didn't. Yeah, the court wanted. The judge wanted to take the kid away, and he was pleading, begging.
Yeah.
That's sad. That's a lovely film.
What a great movie to show the other side of Cary Grant. You know.
I've got it. I've got it on my hard drive. That movie. I love it.
Yeah, Harvey Curnow said all people in the UK need to be preppers. I guess the stuff's going to hit the fan, huh?
Oh, Christ.
Harvey's extent to his prepping is to go down to the fish and chips and just order double instead of single serving.
I think that's basically it.
Put one away and the hell with the rest of it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, Harvey, you got to start putting content out. You got to make the effort to get the camera set up, talk to people, show them what you're doing, introduce the project. Go give a tour. Go give a tour of some of your stuff and show people. I got a big tour of all my audio equipment. It's got 100,000 plus.
Yeah, I've done a few though, haven't I? Of the like the Sony tape recorder I was repairing.
Yeah.
I did one of that. I think that was. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Actually, you got to give some demonstrations and vintage audio listening experiences and that kind of stuff.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to do either tomorrow or the day after. I've got, as I said, I've got lots of record players that play 78s, and I've got a nice 78 collection here. I'm just going to play a few 78s and show them spinning around and stuff like that.
Chuck, look at what Mallory posted. That's going to be my new line at buffet. Get out of the way, bitches. I'm prepping.
Oh wow.
Oh man, that girl's wicked. I'm telling you. I'm prepping. Now we got a new thing for terming what Marshall does. I guess we'll call that prepping now, Harvey. When you stuff up there at the buffet and I'm just prepping, I'm prepping.
What I did buy the other day, I've got an old 8-track player upstairs, and I bought a load of cartridges, and I don't expect them to work because you know what happens? They got a foam pad inside them and they deteriorate to nothing. But I'm just going to try it as a first-time experiment, and if not, I'll have to buy some felt pads and replace them all. But 8 tracks, I don't know. There's something magical about 8 tracks, especially when they fade out in the middle of a bloody song you're trying to listen to.
There's Darth Mallory in the chat now. Golden Corral prepper. That's great. That's a great line. Get out of my way. I'm prepping. Harvey, I already told you about 8 tracks. I almost got a Ross 8-track player here because it looked kind of cool and it had a couple cool light up things. And I'm just like, man, now I got to go down. I grew up with, we had 8-track.
Yeah, me too.
I just thought to myself, I don't know. I'm always so fearful to open another avenue of technology. Then you'll see a wall behind me here with 15 reel-to-reel, and every year that goes by, the livable space in the house gets smaller and smaller as walls are around and everywhere. Then you die. The kids come in and just throw everything
away in a skip. I'm done. Oh my God. Holy shit! I don't even want to think about that.
You don't think I've told my kids a few times, Harvey, that don't just come in here and think it's just junk, okay?
That's exactly what I was telling my daughter just a few weeks ago, funny enough. Oh, hell. I've got my turntable is probably worth about $7,000. It's a Technics SL110 with an SME 3009 Mark II improved arm. I've got a Shure V15 Mark IV cartridge. I mean, if I put it on eBay, I'll guarantee I'll get about over $5,000 for it. Guaranteed.
What do you have in? Did you buy it new or did you buy it as a?
I bought it brand new. I've had it since the mid-70s. This turntable. Wow. The SL110. It's beautiful. Technics SL110. And it's got the wooden baseboard on the right-hand side where you actually mount whatever arm you want. But obviously, I bought the SME, made in Britain. One of the best pickup arms you can buy.
Oh, SME. Yeah. Hey, Ontario chick, nice to see you. Woo.
I'll have to get him on that one day. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Harvey, say hi to Ontario Chicken Spirits Hearts. We got YouTube royalty in the house tonight.
Ontario Chick. Hi, how you doing? Right. Have I subbed to Ontario Chick? Let me have a look.
Yeah, she's a beautiful gal. Luckily, she posts some stuff up on Twitter. Her husband's Portuguese.
Okay.
Her husband's Portuguese. She does all kinds of fancy breads. She's not Portuguese, but she's adopted cooking, and some of the things that she's posted up have just been unbelievably.
Right, I've just up to that.
What I'm saying is she's got a lot of skill.
Right.
Mallory, how about the gold? How about the chocolate fountain? Do you like the gold? You know, Harvey, they have this 3-tiered like chocolate fountain at this low-end buffet, right? You go in. I went in there before, and Jen and I were in Clinton, Missouri, and there's a Golden Corral. They're a small town, like 20,000, 50,000. And this kid just takes his ice cream cone and just puts it right under the fountain of chocolate, all coming down all over his hands.
Oh no! Oh my
God!
God!
And I'm looking at the chocolate fountain, and I'm wondering how many more people have done that kind of thing, in their nose and putting boogers in the chocolate. You know. Let me ask Juice if he would ever use a chocolate fountain on there. What the hell, Juice? Come on, man. Wow. You knock a kid out. You see a kid do that. It's like I said in the movie. Did you ever see National Lampoon Vacation, Harvey?
Yeah, fantastic. I love those movies.
Yeah, remember when the niece is making the Kool-Aid and she's got her whole arm and
oh my God! Oh, that was fantastic. I'll tell you which one I do like. It's oh
man, Mallory Williams is like, oh my God, the chocolate fountain. It always has crumbs in it. It looks like a chocolate petri dish, and that's oh God.
What about the one where they went to the they were driving along and they said, oh look, a Barbie museum, and they went in. It was Klaus Barbie, one of the Nazis and stuff like that. And they started flipping one of Hitler's Mercedes. Oh, that was funny.
Oh, shit.
All the Hell's Angels came along and they put their fingers up and he said, no. Oh, that was
look at what you said. I won't eat donuts from the gas station or grocery. I've seen too many kids reach in and touch everyone after they wipe their noses.
Oh yeah, then remember he burnt his tongue with the lighter, and of course, and they broke into this. It was a vets, wasn't it? It was a Veterans Day thingy-bob, and there's there, and he had this mark under his nose like a moustache, and he was going, and what the fucking hell is going on here? God, that was hilarious.
Hey Tanya, how you doing, sweetheart? Nice to see you. That's funny. So I'll just tell you, I told you the story too about eating fondue in the 1970s, long before Mallory Williams ever walked the earth. But I'm telling you, using the long sticks with the cheeses melted. And you'd have somebody take a cube of bread. They'd stick it in. They'd eat half of the cube of bread, then re-stick the bread.
Gross.
I dumped my girlfriend because she was trendy and shit, and she wanted to have fondue parties. I said, "Go fuck yourself." You know, I'm not doing that. I got your fondue right here. You know, shit.
Oh, God.
Man, doing that stuff. I mean, really, no sense.
Not. Oh, that's not right.
Oh, well, happy birthday to your son tomorrow, Ontario chick. Honestly, you look too young to have a child that old. That's for sure. Hipster, how you doing, baby doll?
It's my niece's birthday tomorrow, 22nd. It was my father's birthday today. He would have been 91.
There's hipster having my ultimate catfish bait out there. It's top of the line right there. Fondue is half split. Yeah, I don't want to. They don't even allow restaurants. I don't even think to serve fondue anymore. I'm not sure. You know, you never saw it. It's one of those trends that mercifully died by 1980. Yeah, go F yourself and choke on your fondue. You know, I mean, come on. How about if you put Mallory Williams in the middle of a fondue party? Well, I guess I'll just have to be taking leave of you all now. If you think I'm going to take my fondue stick and put it in after you and you and you, well, let me tell you, F all of you. Okay, I'm going to get my bag and just say, toodaloo, have fun. I'll see you in the hospital ward, honey. Bye.
Oh, well.
That's what I say. I'm going to have to unleash hipster Abbott, man. She's going to be the ultimate. Yeah. Can you imagine that juice? I couldn't even imagine. I always imagine Mallory in all these social situations where you walk into somebody's home and it's just like a pig pen, and she just walk in. Well,
Yeah.
She sees this curtain rod up here.
Yeah, 70s. I think about the 1970s. There's some funny fads in the 70s. Oh God! I'll tell you what we had to put up with: power cuts in the 70s. All the time, power cuts. It's crazy.
Oh man, fondue with the RTR. I had a lot of negative feedback about the RTR this year, to be honest with you. The weather was iffy. It's kind of cold. Yeah, Mallory does the white glove test. I could never imagine having her on a rancho. I'd have to burn every building down and rebuild to modern. You know what I'm saying, Harvey? How could I have Mallory Williams? It'd be like, well, this has got to go. You got to move this here. Take that there. Honey, is that a blow-up mattress? I love you, honey, but if you think my ass is going to be on a blow-up mattress. Oh, I got a capital idea, Rosie. Look, let's switch for the night. Okay, you got the front bed. I'll be on that bed. Why don't you're like a low rider, right? That bed is perfect for you out there, honey. Woo! Shit. Absolutely, absolutely perfect.
Oh dear. What was I going to say? I was going to say something. What was it? Oh, can't remember now. Can't remember what I was going to say.
Cool Ontario chick. It's just Mallory Williams, as you'll get to know on there. She aims higher in life, and you should see the Christmas tree that she fashioned. It wasn't expensive, but it was absolutely gorgeous. The way she fashioned a Christmas tree with I think as I recall, it was just a basic shape, and she had some ribbons and she had some lights on it. And I thought to myself, what's she going to do when Rosie comes knocking? I'm here. It's like John Belushi called.
Yeah.
All I'm going to do is she's going to open the door. I'm just going to take a beer can and just smash it into my head there.
Oh God, that's fantastic. The Blues Brothers love it. Oh my God.
Oh man.
Oh, great.
Like you might as well surrender before you even show up. But
yeah, he died of drugs, didn't he, John Belushi?
I know. Jen vacuums in here conservatively 4 times a week in here, but it's just in the afternoon. Anytime you have sunshine shining through light and then it shines through to your place, you'd be surprised how much airborne stuff is in your Eskimo R&B. Oh man, you gotta watch some of Vinny's stuff. Just knocks me out. I'm dead. The stuff that he does with Alexa.
It's come on again.
I used to be a tinkerer like he was. Now, sadly, he was terrifically injured when somebody ran into him.
Yeah, I heard. Terrible.
Terrible injury, right?
Jesus.
And the upside, if there is one for him, is he's probably got a right good income. His wife is a wonderful woman. She works, but I'm saying he has time to just, he's not going to go out and do a half marathon, and he's got time to tinker, order in some stuff, and really have a good time. I know, Spirits, it's minus 21 degrees, honey. It's awful. It's a good music party, and all I look for is to be entertained. Yeah. I don't want to, let's face it, Harvey, my downfall is that I enjoy colorful people,
Yeah,
they're not always cut from the best cloth. But I think I have just come to the conclusion that I love colorful people, and I love people that have dimensions to them, like Vinnie G, Ontario chick. She does her cooking and baking and things like that. So I'm very drawn to these kind of people.
Madman like me.
Spirit's Heart just had a birthday a few days ago too. So
Now, tell you what, ask my device something. I don't want to say something, so come on, give it a go. Give it a go. Ask it something, Rosie.
yeah.
Go on.
Okay. Is it Alexa, Harvey?
Yeah.
Alexa, play a sample of Beth by Kiss.
There we go.
Beth by Kiss. Starting now.
There we go.
Amazon Music.
Turn the volume up. Alexa, volume up. Alexa, volume up.
How baby,
There we go.
to you.
Can you hear it?
Yep. We're both playing at the same time.
Stereo. Transatlantic stereo.
Stereophonic Alexas. I friggin' love it.
Just can't find the star.
It's good. Oh boy.
Don't kill my monetization, Harvey.
Oh God.
I'm only kidding. Everybody's always like, oh, Rosie's all about the monetization, nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Let's see. Love Duluth, even go north to Grand. How do you pronounce that? Mariah, Bob Wells, too easy. Hey, Cornell, let me ask you a question. Hi, Henry.
Do you want to stop it, Rosie? Do you want to stop my?
Yeah, go ahead and stop it. Yeah, I know that's going to be my new theme song.
Stop.
Is Beth? Yeah, I'm sorry, Henry. Henry's like, oh my God, there she goes, pulling her cord. Mine's playing at the same time too. You know how many people have written me and said, Rosie, do you know that it's, in my part of the world, it's like 1:45 a.m. when you're doing that, and my Alexa's gone off, because I leave my computer on at night and I'm listening to this thing and I'm laughing my ass off on that Kazakhstan R&B. See, I like somebody like, that's cool. Tanya said I saw Kiss in concert. The other thing I like about Vinny G too, he's like me. He's like an explorer of communities. And I have to admit, a lot of stuff's kind of blown up on me. A lot of stuff's blown up on him too. But I don't think either of us had any regrets about crossing over the drama community and the Boyd. It's not so much the 1,000 subs to me. 4,000 hours of watch time in 12 months. Yeah, well, do fun content. You'd be surprised. Do a hangout once in a while. Throw it in. A lot of people just, dilly gap. Do I look like I give a fuck? He's like, Rosie O'Kelly.
I'll tell you what, I guarantee any money, we're going to get a copyright warning on that one.
Yeah, you do. I'm just saying, Vinny leads forward. Do I look like I give a fuck?
Yeah. Does he look like I give a fuck, mate?
Do I look like I give a fuck? Rosie O'Kelly. I like the way he always calls me. He always calls me by my full name. It's not Rosie. It's Rosie O'Kelly.
Rosie O'Kelly.
Look like I give a fuck.
Yeah. Oh, well. Oh, God.
Oh, Henry, you're OG Boyd. You were here in 2015, my man. You're OG Boyd. You're OG Boyd. Mallory Williams is OG Boyd. I think the drama community, if I just described the drama community, it would be fluid communities of separate tribes that are constantly warring with each other. I guess that's how I would put it. And sometimes it's, just to see how bad you can bust the other group's balls and stuff on there. So I don't know. I'm just wondering, Cornell. Yeah, I end up unblocking. I unblock a lot of people. I'm very light with wrenches. I don't, Jen and Juice and Greg's probably the heaviest I have, but he's learning. Hey, Ward, how are you? I'm doing good. Nice to see you, my friend.
Oh, that's interesting. On that Dynakit Stereo 70, you can actually combine, you can parallel the two channels into 70 watts mono. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Look at that.
Yeah.
What a lovely, what a bloody show.
I'm all set for the new world order anyway, Henry, because the music industry wants to do away with stereo now anyway. So they want to just push things back to mono sound.
Shit.
I mean, think about that. Think about that, Harvey. They've now reached people to the point in listening that so many people are just listening to mono now that they've dumbed down the musical taste of people that they no longer feel like they have to put a stereo package together.
Crazy.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
That's like the current wet dream of the music industry is to do away with stereo and have mono sound on things.
It's crazy. But I'll tell you what's funny, because I remember the, I think it was the late 70s, and a lot of manufacturers were producing quadraphonic amplifiers. Remember that?
I got one here. Yeah, I got a quad amp of my Rants. Yeah.
And then that sort of fizzled out.
Well, remember, you needed to have, you know what the problem why quad never took off? Because you could never convince the recording companies to cut their catalogs over to quadraphonic. They just absolutely refused to do that because they weren't getting paid for it. So they just killed the technology. They just didn't. They didn't support. You know, when you have a new technology, you need to have the flow of you know, the soft products, the records and all that. And the music community told them to dilly-gaff, basically. They said to them, do we look like we give a? Saw something about that on the news. So it's not going to be long due to the economics of music that they don't even believe people. They'll save. What they want to do is save. What they want to do is save that sort of sound for private events and for putting more effort into sound systems at concerts. So there's a big, you know, you're getting more bang for your buck while they're lip syncing.
I'll tell you what about video recorders, right? My first computing job was in 1978, and I went down to Tottenham Court Road and had a choice between VHS or Betamax. Which one did I choose?
Betamax.
Yeah. The Mundo, yeah. So Betamax.
Poor Harvey's got a load of useless shit, did he?
Oh no! And then all the film companies started producing videotapes, and what were they? VH bloody yes! And I'm stuck with a Betamax. But you know what? I'll tell you what. Technically, Betamax is better quality than VHS because they had a higher bandwidth, the tape speed was faster, and all the professional cameras were based on, they were called Betacam, and it was actually, that's what Betamax was based on, Betacam cameras. But technically they were better quality, you know, because I used to compare my friend's VHS to my Betamax, and the quality was far superior with the Betamax, believe it or not. But it's just the rental companies, they decided to adopt VHS, the video home system, instead of Betamax. Thank you very much. And I paid £700. That was a lot of money in 1978, 700 quid. And it was a great big huge thing. It weighed a ton. You know, it must have had about 7 drive belts inside it. Oh God, 700 quid I paid for that. Because I didn't want to miss any of my TV shows, and I think Dallas was being shown.
I'll just tell you, Harvey, the shape of we will lose. We'll be back even below high fidelity. And of course, people don't really know what high fidelity really meant.
Yeah.
High fidelity, we know what stereo is: 2 channels, recording placed some distance apart from each other, and then your ears perceive the signal and bring it together, so you perceive there's a difference in what's coming in the 2 ears. So it's very pleasing. It's very realistic. But the problem, Harvey, is they want to do away with that particular sound, but they won't even go back to high fidelity. High fidelity is creating equipment that can reproduce the broadest frequencies of sound. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, in the early days, they didn't care if they narrow banded the frequencies. Who cared if you heard all the highs? Who cared if you heard? Who cared if you didn't hear all the highs? Who cared if you didn't hear all the lows? They just gave you the middle.
Yeah.
Well, high fidelity came along, and they started expanding through better speaker technology. They started expanding, so you got more frequent. You left less on the studio floor, and you brought more home with you. Now they want to reduce that just to take that down as narrow as possible.
No, because I remember in those days, I mean, when I was to look at specs before I bought an amplifier or something like that, and I was looking at the frequency response, and generally 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz was good. That was a really good frequency response, because 20 hertz is obviously the low frequencies, right up to 20 kilohertz, which was good. And that was good spec for, say, a cassette deck or something like that in those days, you know?
See what Vinny put, the world should pat themselves on the shoulders. Rwanda isn't starving anymore, and they have guitars. There we go. Vinny's into Rwandese R&B and Mongolian R&B out there. I never even thought about Chinese R&B until frickin' Vinny said, Rosie. Now, Rosie O'Kelly, let me ask you, Rosie. Have you lived in China for 5 years? Did you know any Chinese R&B? I'm like, what? You know, it's like, oh, that's pretty good. I never had a ham radio. My brother was a ham radio operator. I learned Morse code, but I never.
Yeah, I was into all that. After CB radio, I started going into a 2-meter band. Amateur radios, you know, so yeah, I've done all that. I've done the course and everything.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Vinny just blew me away. Just absolutely blew me away. I never knew there was Chinese R&B, and I fucking lived there for 5 years, you know? So it can't be new. It's just one of those tiny subsets that somebody like Vinny just fishes out of his ass and puts it up on the, you know, discovers it. So it's kind of interesting. And it sounded, you know, he's got a good sound. Like, I got a lousy system. I start a show, I just turn on the speakers here. It sounds like crap through the, you know, I'm using a Logitech lousy pickup, nasty thing. Yeah, I knew Morse code is the very first digital. That's exactly right. The very first digital signaling method. That's exactly correct. But he's got a really nice way of, he's got a really nice sound setup. So much better microphone than, you know, Harvey, these things are just crap on these Logitech microphones are just crap.
Yeah, if I do more streaming, I think I'll you can buy these condenser USB microphones. I think that's what Vinny's got.
Yeah, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, condenser USB mics. They're good because they can even compress your voice as well. It gives you a certain amount of speech compression.
Well, look, Harvey, here's the ace in the hole. Here's what I got. Did Vinny?
Hey, look at that.
This, my friend. I'm sorry, Vinny. Don't be a hater now, Vinny. Don't be a hater. This is a
Sennheiser, nice
microphone here.
Is it electric? Is it electric?
This is electric. It's got noise cancellation on the side of it. This is the MK. This is the journalist microphone.
Oh, it's pretty good.
You know, the MKE 600. Look it up, Vinny. MKE 600. This is the one that journalists use when they're out in the field, so they're not picking up a lot of the ambient noise.
So it's a directional mic, right?
Yeah, I feel quite sure Vinny cannot top this, even with his gangster setup, his ghetto stuff, all of his fancy stuff. He cannot top that Sennheiser.
Beautiful. Yeah. So it's direct.
I'm selling it.
It's not omnidirectional, is it? It must be directional then.
It's directional, Harvey, because imagine you're on the street of,
you don't want to pick up all the crap.
Aleppo in Syria, and there's small arms discharge fire all around you, and there's street vendors screaming and kids on bikes and, you know, street life. You don't want to hear all that shit. You want it pointing at like Harvey and just get, it looks like a curling iron. It doesn't it? and you want to just be able to pick up that person with canceling out. Look at what it's got on the side. Do you see the baffles in there?
Yeah.
You know what they do? They take in the ambient noise surrounding the microphone from the sides, and through noise cancellation technology,
Nice.
they
Look at that.
cancel out the side noise on here.
Very good. I like it.
This is just a brilliant German technology, the Sennheiser, and everything is collected in the front.
I think that's what my headphones are for my hi-fi. Let me
Oh yeah, Sennheiser. I can't afford to buy Sennheiser.
Yeah. What mine?
I can't afford to buy Sennheiser. I don't have your money, Harvey. You know.
No, I don't think I've really. I've got a pair of HD 414s, Sennheisers.
I mean, that's what Harvey gets for being in the Queen's service.
Yeah, that was years ago. Though. That was years ago.
Ralphie.
I used to be really fit then.
Ralphie. George hates Ralph. I call this Ralphie, his dead cat microphone cover. George. Meow. Harvey. Here he comes. Georgie, get Harvey. Here, look at Harvey. Look at
Georgie.
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 He's listening to you. Make your cat noise again, Harvey.
Take it to.
There's Georgie came running. There he is. Look at him.
Oh, that worked.
Come on. Get this. Come on. What's this? Huh? Georgie, look. Come on. Get this.
Oh.
I don't want to torture him, but he hates this. He hates this dead. He hates this dead cat. You know, wind.
Oh no. Oh, tormenting the poor thing. No, I can't do that.
I know we can't do that.
No.
I thought you'd like to see that Sennheiser. I'm going to be selling that. So.
That's what I ask you. You know your mobile phone use when you do your little cooching. Was it the cooching?
Chooch.
Chooch. Yeah, it's got stereo mics, hasn't it? It definitely is
stereo.
mic. Yeah, of course. So I can hear it here.
The Samsung Galaxy S9 records in stereo, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Let's
Yeah,
see. The headsets on TriStars used Sennheiser. Yeah, see, I can't pay a Sennheiser price for headphones. So Henry Hobson said, "Jesus, you two, my cat's going nuts now."
Yeah, because I can hear the stereo effect really well because either side of my laptop I've got a pair of these, you know these Apple speakers? They look like the vents on a ship.
Yeah.
You know which ones I mean, yeah? And I can hear when you're going around, I can actually hear the stereo effect. So that is really effective, your phone. Very good. Yeah, I was very impressed.
Yeah, they wrapped a lot of technology in here, Harvey. Enough so that I may step up to the S10. I think it'll come out in April. So imagine that, a low light. The best thing about this, Harvey, and you guys that are listening, this uses two lenses, a standard f2.8 lens, but it has a low light f1.8. It's absolutely, it lights up the night. Absolutely lights up the night.
Good, yeah, lovely fun.
My next street stream will be tomorrow night. I'm going to go out to a different town and do a street streaming tomorrow evening on that. So
okay, right, I should be there.
Let's see. Tanya Z says, Harvey, can we talk a little bit about sexual intercourse? Don't get Harvey started on that. He's the consummate ladies man. So, you know.
Oh,
Harvey, when he's pissed, he's all love the ladies, Rosie. I can't help it. I love the ladies.
I actually took down my stream, you know, that stream I made when I was drunk. I had to take it down. It was a little bit too much, really. I mean, it was, God. I mean, on Mama Bear's stream today, not Mama Bear, sorry, Mama Bear. On Mama Bear's stream, that was fun today. Holy hell, that was good. You'll have to see it. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
No, I'll be checking it out. I had to laugh though about that.
Oh, it was funny as hell. It was. It was really.
Harvey started to spin out of control a little bit on the Hangout there. It was pretty funny. Anyway, Harvey, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get think about what I'm going to get for dinner tonight. So I want to thank you for being on. Sky Carl has agreed to come on next time to give us some basic radio
Okay, brilliant.
theory, so people understand the components of what makes a radio set go, from acquiring the signal through the intermediate frequencies, the RF, and then you know, with the output stage. I have a question for you. Does anyone know why after I hit the arrow to post to chat, my avatar jumps a few times on the main side chat? I'm not sure. See, your avatar is very slow to show. The only thing I would suggest, Henry, is to clear your cache on your computer and restart your computer. Log out of YouTube, clear your cache, restart your computer, and then log on to YouTube again. That might do the job for you. So anyway, Harvey, thanks for being on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for putting me on. Yeah,
I got to get something to eat before I fall over. So.
Yeah,
all right.
okay.
Thank you, everybody. Carl's got his homework assignment, so we'll see you next week. I'll give you some notice, Carl, on that. You know, like maybe Tuesday, something like that. All right. Take care. Thanks, everybody, for being on. Thank you, Harvey.
Yeah. Bye, everyone on side chat. See you all.